Chapter 949. DG? Seeing the smile that gradually appeared on Lin Yuan's face, DG's face also gradually revealed a puzzled expression. However, his puzzlement was destined not to be answered. Because the moment Lin Yuan finished his last word, a snow-white beam of cold light suddenly appeared. A white-feathered leader flew high into the air. Just like the 4 heads that were thrown out by Lin Yuan earlier, it fell to the ground and rolled a few times. Immediately, it was covered with a lot of dust. Sheathing his saber, the smile on Lin Yuan's face disappeared. The aura qi around his body fluctuated. His previously dispirited qi activity suddenly changed, as if nothing had happened. As he walked toward Zhang Yuecheng, he said, Li family of Hichu, Sun family of Lianzheng, Lishan sect, Zhaixing pavilion. There are people from these families present. Have you seen the results of these 2 battles? DG and Mo Ta, one died and one fled. The outcome has been decided. Do you have any last words? After Lin Yuan made a powerful move in Zhulu City and killed the 4 Kongming realm experts, the various forces in the southern cultivation world already knew that this rapidly rising empress could not be suppressed. However, they still did not restrain their desire for the empress arsenal. They even put forward the rules of the battle despite the insults of some people. They said that if the empress could defeat Mo Ta and DG, they would no longer find trouble with her. However, if the empress lost, she would have to take the initiative to hand over the empress arsenal. The stakes of winning and losing were obviously not equal. Therefore, after Lin Yuan learned of this news, he took the initiative to say that if he won, the entire families of these participating forces would die. The risks and benefits were immediately proportional. At the same time, it also scared off many southern cultivation forces. However, at the same time, there were always people who thought that riches and honor could only be found in danger. Moreover, they did not believe that the empress could really win. In other words, they did not believe that things could really develop to that stage. No matter how arrogant that empress was, wasn't she only flaunting her power in the Lulan forces before? Could she really wipe out their entire families or something? However, at this moment, their mentality undoubtedly collapsed. DG and Mo Ta actually really lost to the empress. Moreover, this woman actually read out the names of the forces that had signed the agreement in front of so many spectators. This meant that once this matter was over, she would start to destroy these forces. Moreover, it would be the kind of destruction that would wipe out their entire families. Guan Zhaoshan, we admit that you are indeed a genius, but you are far from enough to challenge the entire southern cultivation world, aren't you? We can promise not to be your enemy, and this matter will be dropped. If you really want to fight, the ethereal society will not be able to protect you. A middle-aged man in a black brocade robe walked out of the crowd and roared with a flushed face. What was the most embarrassing thing in the world? After losing the bet, the other party wanted to collect the debt in front of everyone. Yet, he still had to act tough and renege on the debt, even threatening the other party. After the middle-aged man said this, he suddenly felt that in the entire southern cultivation world, apart from Lu Jingsheng, his reputation was probably the worst. You are, the person in charge of the second branch of the Li family of the river diagram, right? Lin Yuan did not know this middle-aged man. It was only when a follower of the Red Dust Society reminded him in a low voice that he knew the other party's identity. After confirming the other party's identity, he waved his hand like he was shooing away flies and said impatiently, "Let's start with the annihilation of the Li family of the river diagram. I want to see how much ability you have to take someone's life." As soon as his voice fell, all the spectators were stunned. Guan Zhaoshan's reaction was really unexpected. Although Guan Zhaoshan was already familiar with the annihilation of a sect, coupled with the provocation of the southern cultivation world first, at most they could only criticize Guan Zhaoshan for being ruthless and not caring about the face between cultivators. Even if they racked their brains, they could not prove that Guan Zhaoshan's actions were wrong. After all, the Sky Martial continent had been evolving for so many years. Sects, families, clans, and even dynasties had been annihilated. Examples of the remnants of the god-sculpting sect like the Red Dust Society were still active in the world were few and far between. But even so, the Red Dust Society had fallen from the former number one sect of the South to the point of being associated with the loose cultivators of the forest. This point alone proved that the various forces of the southern cultivation world were not much gentler than Lin Yuan. It was just that when the perpetrator became the victim, the difference between the two made them feel extremely sad. Even if they were not named by Lin Yuan, because they did not wish to pay such a heavy price and withdrew early, or even if they did not participate in this matter from the beginning, when they heard the names that were called out by Lin Yuan, as well as the middle-aged men with ashen faces, they could not help but feel a sense of sympathy. You're right. Guan Zhaoshan's actions is almost making an enemy of the entire southern cultivation world. Even if my ether society were to be destroyed, we would not be able to save her life. So this Zhang can guarantee that if you want to kill Guan Zhaoshan, the ether society will definitely not interfere. As long as you really want to die a clean death. A hoarse voice suddenly rang out. Everyone turned their heads and saw a man who was completely wrapped up in pitch-black armor and wearing a white mask walking over as if he was taking a stroll. There was a large number of cultivators dressed in the Ether Society's attire following behind him. There were also quite a number of famous characters from the Southern Night Bandits ranking. For example, the Liu brothers, Lian Hua, and the others. What was even more eye-catching was the green-clothed young man next to the black-armored man. Third on the Night Bandits list, the all-knowing man, Chen Ping, who was known to know everything. This person had not committed any monstrous killing or shocking crimes, but he was ranked third on the Night Bandits list, and his bounty was so high that it made one's hair stand on end. This was because this man was known to know everything, and he really knew everything. Regardless of whether it was the secrets of the various sects that were kept secret, or the secrets that had happened in a certain period of time, as long as you could pay the price, he would be able to tell you everything. As long as such an existence lived in the world, it would undoubtedly be a great threat to the sects and aristocratic families. However, some people wanted to kill Chen Ping quickly, while others wanted to protect Chen Ping so that they could obtain more secrets. This was why he was able to keep his life. It was said that after being assassinated again, Chen Ping was seriously injured and almost died. After that, he disappeared without a trace, never opening up his business again. Until today, he had appeared together with the people from the Ether Society. Hostility gradually appeared in everyone's eyes as they looked at the Ether Society. Did it mean that the Ether Society already knew all of their secrets for them to have recruited someone like Chen Ping? However, compared to this, they were more curious about the meaning of the black-armored man's words earlier. Chapter 950. Right now, the southern cultivation realm can be said to be the most powerful force in the Shenwu dynasty. This is because this place has not experienced many wars. Be it ordinary people or cultivators, the number of people here is countless times greater than the areas controlled by the Shenwu dynasty in the past. However, this does not mean that a new regime will be born in the southern cultivation realm. To put it bluntly, they are a bunch of trash who can't even deal with the Sky Demon. They clearly know that the Sky Demon from the Central Plains is heading south, but instead of thinking about how to deal with this calamity, they are hiding in temporarily safe places and scheming against each other. The black-armored man pointed at a few people and said with a sneer, "These are the elders of the southern cultivation world. They have been around for many years. I wonder how many heavenly demons you can kill in the face of the heavenly demon army. You're just trying to scare us." A middle-aged man with a pitch-black heavy sword on his back raised his eyebrows and said with a cold smile, "There are many aristocratic clans and sects in the south. Even the forces under the Heavenly Gate's guardians have taken root here. A mere sky demon has never been a threat to us. Is that so?" The black-armored man smiled and asked in return. Then, he shrugged and said in a mocking tone, "But according to Chen Ping's information, the cities near the Central Plains have basically fallen. Some people here know about this, while others don't. However, it has been a very long time since you've received news from the front lines, right? As for the Heavenly Gate's guardians," he paused for a moment, then his tone rose slightly as he continued in a mocking tone, "They are now facing even greater trouble and have no time to deal with the Sky Demon. Previously, they had already entrusted the Shenwu dynasty's sky demon problem to the Black Jiao of the northern frontier to deal with. Therefore, up until now, have you seen the Heavenly Gates guardians take action? Oh, I almost forgot. Right now, the northern frontier is also facing trouble. Therefore, they can only defend and are unable to advance. If everyone continues like this, I reckon that before the northern frontier can head south, most of the people here will have died. After he finished speaking, everyone's countenances did not look too good. Although Fang Xingjian did not know the identity of the people from the He clan, based on how he had led the members of the Ether Society, he was most likely that mysterious supreme chief. Moreover, the words of the man in black armor were not baseless. It was no secret that the sky demon was heading south. The cities near the Central Plains had spontaneously formed alliances to resist the sky demon. Earlier, there were cultivators and mortals who had escaped from the front lines. But now, the most recent piece of news was from close to half a month ago. It was an urgent request for help from the front lines. However, the fire did not reach their homes. Few people were willing to take the risk, so the request was shelved. After that, there was no news from the front lines. Currently, there hadn't been any large-scale sky demon attacks to the south, but there were occasional occurrences of a sky demon appearing. Out of instinct, they were naturally willing to think positively. However, when the man in black armor put these problems on the table, no one dared to be optimistic and say that there were no problems with the alliance at the front lines. Furthermore, the guardians of the Heavenly Gates had no intention of taking action. Even though there were many influences in the south that were related to the guardians of the Heavenly Gates, these people were merely the minions of the guardians of the Heavenly Gates. If necessary, they could be abandoned. Once this matter was over, the guardians of the Heavenly Gates could support even more powerful influences to work for them. As for this, Guan Zhaoshan, the name of the Empress, has been in the limelight recently. At first, everyone was wary of the Ether Society, but later on, they coveted the Empress arsenal. Thus, the reputation of the Ether Society is not very useful. I admit this. At this moment, the man in black armor had walked to a spot about 3 meters behind Lin Yuan. He stopped in his tracks and made a throat-slitting gesture. He said, "The Ether Society is unable to protect her. Thus, if you want to kill or torture her, please do as you wish. However, I can guarantee that if anything happens to Guan Zhaoshan in the south, when the northern frontier resolves its problems and heads south, everyone present here or not will be King buried together with her." Hiss. As soon as he finished speaking, there was the sound of cold air being sucked in from the surroundings. Guan Zhaoshan's relationship with the Ether Society was actually not a big deal to the cultivation world of the South as a whole. There were too many influences that had the ability to wrestle with the Ether Society. Previously, they did not touch Guan Zhaoshan because they felt that there was no need to clash with the Ether Society. However, when the benefits reached a certain level, what was the face of the Ether Society? They really did not believe that the Ether Society would shed all pretense of cordiality with the entire cultivation world of the South for a woman. Thus, the matter of Lian Hua and the Lu brothers standing up for her was at most a deterrent to the southern Lu Lin and the loose cultivators. However, the words of the man in black armor now were thought-provoking. This woman was related to the northern frontier. Although the cultivation world of the South had always been scheming against each other to create a new regime to replace the Shenwu dynasty, they knew in their hearts that they could not be like the northern frontier and the southern wasteland just because they occupied a territory. Firstly, they did not have a background. Secondly, they did not have a foundation. It was impossible for them to imitate the northern frontier and the South to become rich. They only wanted to eliminate all other voices before the northern frontier army went south. Then, the various factions would work together to guarantee the right to speak. This was to prevent the northern frontier from occupying the former land of the Shenwu dynasty. Sects and families with thousands of years of history like them could only watch from the sidelines. Or rather, they could simply become a piece of juicy meat in the eyes of the upper echelons of the northern frontier. So what if this woman is related to the northern frontier? The middle-aged man with the heavy sword on his back saw that everyone was deep in thought. He continued to put on a strong front and said, if the situation is as you say, then we can't even get past the Sky Demon. How can we talk about the northern frontier going south? Why don't we seize the Empress Arsenal and send it to the Yun Empire and the Xinjiang Empire in exchange for a way out? I don't care who you are. If you want to meddle in other people's business, then draw a line. Otherwise, just get lost. If you want to make us hesitate to attack with empty words, then you are delusional. The Tianwu world was overcrowded. The various empires, demonic beast factions, and even some reclusive families and sects that occupied territories had been deliberately maintaining a high intensity of war to ensure that the population of the Tianwu continent did not exceed the upper limit of what could be supported. Strictly speaking, even the royal bloodline of the previous 7 empires were treated as cannon fodder if they did not have a certain level of talent. The southern cultivation world could not defeat the Sky Demon, nor could they defeat the northern frontier, so they could only run away. However, whether it was the Xinjiang Empire or the Yun Empire, it was impossible for them to have territory. Even if they had connections with some powerful sects, it was useless. If you went to them empty-handed, they would not want you. This was the fundamental reason why many factions in the southern cultivation world coveted the Empress Arsenal. If you wanted to be taken in, you had to show your value. Otherwise, you would only be cannon fodder if you went there. At most, you would die a little later. Chapter 951. Didn't I already say this before? The black armored man shrugged his shoulders again, and said in an indifferent tone, if you want to touch her, the Ether Association definitely won't be able to protect her. Therefore, I won't stop you. I'm only here today to say what I said before. If you want to die, then kill yourselves. Don't drag everyone down with you, understand? The atmosphere suddenly became stifling. Previously, they had guessed that Guan Zhaoshan could be the Supreme Chief of the Ether Association or the woman of the Supreme Chief, which was why they acted so recklessly. However, if Guan Zhaoshan was related to the northern frontier, then she was indeed an existence that they could not deal with. The treasures in the Great Empress Arsenal were actually not a secret. As long as one could complete the missions given by the Red Dust Society, regardless of their background, they would be able to obtain points to exchange for various cultivation techniques, resources, and even treasures. Given the size of the various factions in the southern cultivation world, they had actually already copied most of the cultivation techniques in the Great Empress Arsenal. However, this was still not enough. There were many types of cultivation techniques in the Great Empress Arsenal, and they were all-encompassing. However, at the end of the day, they were all incomplete versions. At most, they could only be cultivated up to the entry level of the Void Realm. What was the use of cultivation techniques of this level to others? If they wanted to, they would be able to obtain them themselves. Why would they need to send them over? The truly valuable ones were the remaining parts of the cultivation techniques in Guan Zhaoshan's hands. However, the problem was that in order to obtain these remaining parts, not only would one need an astronomical number of points, one would also need to join the Red Dust Society as the main body, and the various factions of the Lulan as the branches. This was an alliance that gathered all the individual cultivators in the southern region. If one wanted to join this alliance, the vetting process would be much stricter. Only true individual cultivators had the right to join this alliance. Otherwise, even if one did not belong to a sect on the surface, but had the support of a sect behind the scenes, one would still be directly eliminated during the audition. As for bribing those individual cultivators? What a joke. How could these people, who didn't belong to any sect or family, still be able to make a name for themselves in the cultivation world, be easy to deal with? They couldn't bribe the powerful rogue cultivators because from the very first day they started cultivating, they didn't bother with sects or aristocratic families. If they played dirty tricks, they might not be able to win against them. It would be troublesome if they became enemies. Moreover, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had just been established, and there were no signs of corruption. It could be said that they were of the same breath and branch. If you provoked one, it was equivalent to provoking the whole group. There were even a few second-rate sects that were annihilated because they provoked the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. As for those rogue cultivators who were not powerful, unfortunately, exchanging for the follow-up cultivation technique required an astronomical amount of points. This threshold directly locked them in. Even if they managed to bribe these people, they wouldn't be able to obtain the follow-up cultivation technique. If you were to secretly sponsor them, and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance found out about it, you could use it as a reference to what happened to those forces that were annihilated by them. However, if you didn't sponsor them, by the time they accumulated enough points, it would probably be too late. If not for this, why would they find trouble with Guan Zhaoshan? Now that they were trapped here, it was obviously impossible for them to continue fighting, because that would be tantamount to falling out with the northern frontier. So what if they escaped to another dynasty? Which dynasty didn't have the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce now? As long as it was related to the worded business, they would more or less have to give the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce some face. Firstly, if the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce ate meat, they could also eat some soup. Secondly, if they really offended the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, they wouldn't be able to do any business that spanned more than 2 dynasties in the future, because they would never be able to bypass the Northern Frontier's sphere of influence. If they didn't take the Northern Frontier's trade route, should they take the Central Plains where the Sky Demon was entrenched? Or should they really fight with those merchants that ran the sea route and snatched the coastal trade route? So what if they snatched the sea route? It was only a matter of time before the Northern Frontier went south. When that time came, the Central Plains and the South would still belong to the Northern Frontier. Furthermore, who didn't know that although the Black Jiao wasn't from the Four Seas dragon race, it was a true dragon bloodline goblin beast? If they offended a dragon bloodline goblin beast and still took the Endless Seas trade route to do business, they wouldn't even know how they died. These powers that were related to the word of business might not be strong overall, but they were good at disgusting people. If you offended them, they wouldn't be able to do anything to you, but practitioners who were related to you would never be able to buy resources from these merchants. As time passed, there would always be people who would place righteousness above family ties and take your head to apologize. You couldn't just snatch them if they didn't want to sell to you, right? For these chambers of commerce to be able to do such big business, not to mention their own strength, they all had powerful backgrounds behind them. The royal families of the various empires, first-rate or even super first-rate sects, and even the few well-known chambers of commerce in the Tianwu continent, except for the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce, basically all had the Heavenly Gate Guardian behind them. Even if you snatched something, you had to be alive to use it. But let Guan Zhaoshan off just like that? Who would let them off? It was hard to say when the Northern Frontier would go south, but the Sky Demon's move south was imminent. In fact, no one knew how many existences that had been possessed by the Sky Demon were lurking in the cultivation world in the south. If the Northern Frontier didn't make a move and the Heavenly Gate's Guardian didn't make a move, relying on themselves to encounter the Sky Demon was like throwing an egg at a rock. After all, the Sky Demon wasn't something that could be killed by treasures or spells. Apart from the Northern Frontier who dared to say that they could eliminate the Sky Demon, even the Heavenly Gate's Guardian could only use various treasures to suppress and seal the Sky Demon's body. Furthermore, it wasn't a permanent insurance. At most, in a few decades or 100 years, the sealed Sky Demon might break out and cause trouble again. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at Zhang Xiu, who was covered in black armor. Although Zhang Xiu didn't reveal his identity, he still had the curse mark poison in his body. His life and death were in Lin Yuan's hands. Moreover, he was now 3 meters away from Lin Yuan. Even if Lin Yuan didn't look at him, in his perception, Zhang Xiu was as conspicuous as a 10,000-watt light bulb. Since Zhang Xiu had already said so much, he already had an idea of how to end the situation. However, there was still a problem. If the South's cultivation world wanted a way out, Lin Yuan also needed a large number of people. If there was a chance, he naturally wouldn't let these cultivators benefit the Sky Demon. However, Lin Yuan couldn't decide for the time being whether to send these people to the Northern Frontier to help clear out the Undying or to let them go to sea to pressure the dragon race of the Four Seas. Although there were no existences above the Dao Initiation Realm, Void Realm and Heaven Realm cultivators weren't considered cannon fodder. At least, they were quite useful against the minions of the Endless Sea. Since you treat me as a way out, have you ever considered cooperating with me? Lin Yuan put his hands behind his back and very naturally took over the conversation. Chapter 952. Miss Guan, please speak frankly. How do you want to cooperate? Suddenly, a voice full of energy rang out from the crowd. Lin Yuan's gaze turned, and he suddenly burst into laughter. It was an acquaintance. Yangji sect master, Dao initiation realm cultivator, Sun Xingzi. Previously, when the dragon clan of the Four Seas contacted the Elysium Guardians to launch a pincer attack on the old rulers, the eldest son of the Dragon King of the East Sea blocked the gate of the Yangji sect and successfully obtained the stepping stone. He used Lin Yuan's transmission array to attract a large number of Elysium Guardians and cut off the escape route of the old rulers. The fact that Lin Yuan was able to make the cultivators of the Dao initiation realm and even higher realm cooperate with the demon beasts, in addition to the fact that Lin Yuan scared the higher-ups of the Elysium Guardians in the Endless Sea, was mostly because this old man was usually very popular. Of course, for existences like cultivators, having good relationships with others and having good moral character were two different things. To be able to cultivate to this level in this incomplete world that seemed like a transcendent realm in the eyes of ordinary people, the resources and opportunities needed were not small. Things like killing people and seizing treasures were probably not few in number. Sun Xingzi was already a Dao initiation realm cultivator. Although it was only a difference of one realm, he was still a far cry from a void realm cultivator. This was because having a Dao initiation realm cultivation was equivalent to having the identity of a guardian of the heavenly gate. With such an identity, if Sun Xingzi left and went to the territories of other dynasties, those sects, clans, and courtiers would have to obediently serve him. There was no need for them to be dragged into this calamity. However, Sun Xingzi was only a Dao initiation realm cultivator and was only one of the outermost members of the Heavenly Gate Guardians. He didn't have the face to move the entire Yangji sect. Between his own survival and protecting the sect, this old man chose to protect the sect. This was something that Lin Yuan didn't expect. I do have a way to survive, and there are two of them. Lin Yuan put the yuanlong back on his waist, and his beautiful face kept changing. Finally, he showed a warm smile and said softly, "It's just that there is no free lunch in the world. There are two ways to survive. No matter which one you choose, you need to use your life to do something for me. It's just that compared to the current heavenly demon disaster, the things I ask you to do may be more dangerous, but at the same time, your disciples, children, and descendants can be saved. How about it? Miss Guan, what are the two ways to survive?" Another voice sounded from the crowd. Although the old man who spoke was only at the void netherworld realm, from his aura and clothes, he probably came from an extraordinary background. There were other cultivators around him who were dressed similarly. They were basically at the void netherworld realm and heaven dipper realm. One way is to go north. I can arrange boats and aquatic beasts to take you across the Wei River. The Baixing Navy has some influence in the northern frontier, so if you just want to go to the northern frontier, they won't make things difficult for you. If you go north along the Wei River, you can temporarily reorganize in the northern frontier. At the same time, you can leave the people who are not involved in the battle behind. But I have to say the ugly words first. The northern frontier will go south sooner or later. The power structure has already been set. Things like sects have no need to exist in my eyes. If you want to stay in the northern frontier, you need to disband your sections. At that time, whether you want to establish a family or enter the Northern Frontier Academy as an instructor, you are all welcome. But if anyone wants to stir up trouble in the northern frontier, don't blame me for being ruthless. Other than this, if you want to go to the northern frontier, you will receive all kinds of supplies from the northern frontier. In return, you have to help the northern frontier deal with the sky demon near the Wei River, as well as some monsters that cannot be killed by normal means. But those monsters can still be dealt with by the northern frontier. You just need to listen to orders and cooperate with the army and cultivators of the northern frontier. Lin Yuan pointed to the north. After a pause, he continued, "In addition, like I said before, things like sects have no need to exist in my eyes. Whether you go north or not, you can either disband your sects or fight a war. I will help you disband them. Instantly, everyone's expressions froze. There was no need to talk about the fate of the families and sects of the northern frontier. When Lei Qiusheng was in power, the Central Plains, as his territory, had focused on attacking the sections. The lives of the families had been better, but only slightly better. Only the south under Lei Qiusheng's jurisdiction and the nearby regions were places where the families and sects held power. Especially after the Shenwu dynasty and the southern regime established by Lei Qiusheng were destroyed, this place had become a paradise for the families and sections. Now, Guan Zhaoshan had laid her cards on the table. The northern frontier had no intention of accepting sections. In the eyes of a modern person like Lin Yuan who had grown up under the red flag, things like sects could be replaced by schools. If there was no cultivation in the world, public schools and private schools did not matter. But now that there were cultivators, Lin Yuan had to take control of these organizations that nurtured cultivators. Even if he could not completely destroy them, he had to weaken them as much as possible. Otherwise, the world would fall into chaos sooner or later. Wanting to live was tantamount to disbanding sects. For a moment, the expressions of the cultivators present immediately collapsed. As for the suggestion of disbanding sects and establishing families, normal people knew that this was a joke. The families of the northern frontier were different from other families. They had strict rules. If they crossed the line, they would beat you. But if they did not cross the line, even if the families were passed down through the ages, they would only be rich and not valuable. This was completely different from their original idea of wanting to have the right to speak in their hands. The second way to live is actually very simple. I will contact the demon beasts in the outer sea. You can go out to sea and leave the Tianwu continent. There are some islands nearby that you can live on. The demonic sect that had wreaked havoc in the south previously rested on those islands. After so many years, if you are willing, you can also clear out some islands and continue to maintain your sections. When the northern frontier occupies the south, I will not reject you like I did with the demonic sect. The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce will open up a trade route in the Endless Sea, and you are welcome to purchase or sell at any time. Some of you might say, if you want to run to the islands overseas and struggle at death's door, why do you want to cooperate with me? This question is actually very easy to answer, because only with my approval can you establish a foothold on the islands overseas. Otherwise, with just you, how many of you dare to drag your families to the Endless Sea to find an island to live on? Lin Yuan slowly spread out his hands and said with a smile, yes, I am indeed threatening you. If you insist on preserving your sects and even don't hesitate to live on the islands overseas, then be careful when you communicate with us in the future, because not only can I let you establish a foothold there, but I can also let you die without a burial place overseas. Chapter 953. If we choose to go out to sea, what do we have to pay? Sun Xingzi, who had already walked out of the crowd, frowned and asked in a clear voice. As soon as he finished speaking, the whispers in the surroundings seemed to have been muted. Everyone's eyes fell on Lin Yuan once again. These people had different expressions, but the dilemma in their hearts was the same. It was just like when the gap between people was huge to a certain extent, emotions like jealousy would not arise. The strong rise of the northern frontier was also destined to dominate this land in the future. No matter how many tricks they had in the dark, they would not be so naive to think that they could take advantage of the northern frontier. If you're willing to go out to sea, I'll allocate some safe islands for you to live on. If you don't violate the rules, I can guarantee that no sea demons will attack you for no reason. However, if it's a problem caused by the diplomatic problems between you and the sea demons, I won't interfere. After all, I'm only giving you a way to survive, not to be your nanny. Lin Yuan shrugged, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. That's all? Sun Xingzi's brows were still knitted together. He did not believe that Guan Zhaoshan did not have any ulterior motives. However, compared to Guan Zhaoshan's ulterior motives, he was more concerned about the northern frontier's attitude. After all, most of the people present were heavyweights of the sects and aristocratic families. Regardless of aptitude and strength, their own interests were absolutely tied to the forces they belonged to. Simply put, the stronger the force they belonged to, the greater the authority they had. Even if some of them didn't need such authority, they could still use it to nurture their bloodline descendants or disciples, ensuring that their branch would flourish for a long time. However, the northern frontier's overbearingness was beyond everyone's imagination. The North was in chaos. It was not surprising that the northern frontier joined forces with the Shinwu dynasty to eradicate the sects and suppress the aristocratic families with the general trend of the Hengduan Mountains. However, what about the Central Plains? What about the South? Could the northern frontier still be the same as before and not put all the aristocratic families and sects in their eyes? To them, that was almost impossible. Even when Lei Qiusheng was at the peak of the nation's power after he usurped the throne, he didn't dare to openly declare that he would be enemies with all the sects and clans. After all, if these people worked together, they could turn the world upside down. Even the prosperous Wanjian dynasty could be overturned by them, let alone a traitor like Lei Qiusheng. But that was the attitude of the northern frontier. If they wanted to make a living in the northern frontier, they would have to disband their sects and the aristocratic families would have to live according to the rules. Whether it was in the north, the Central Plains, or the south, the attitude of the northern frontier was the same. Could it be that the northern frontier wasn't afraid of the aristocratic families and sects working together to overthrow the northern frontier's rule? If it was during the Qingping era, the northern frontier would of course be afraid of these powers working together. If not, Lin Yuan wouldn't have created the Northern Frontier Academy and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, which were both in the limelight today. The former almost replaced everything that the sects did, but it only trained talents for the northern frontier. Although there would still be various factions, at least they would have the same interests as the northern frontier. They wouldn't be like the sects, fighting for their own interests. Although the latter brought great benefits to the aristocratic families, it also cut off the possibility of the aristocratic families controlling the imperial court. Once it reached a certain scale, if Lin Yuan wanted to suppress an aristocratic family in the future, he wouldn't even need to use force. He just needed to cut off the cooperation between the aristocratic family and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, and in 2 or 3 years, he could easily destroy an aristocratic family with thousands of years of history. If he didn't have this kind of power in his hands, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to calm down. If the Shinwu dynasty could use the power of all the aristocratic families and sects, why would Lei Qiusheng take the risk to cooperate with the Sky Demon and turn the Shinwu dynasty into what it was today? Of course not, heh. Lin Yuan sneered and said coldly, even if you establish sects overseas, under the condition that I don't prohibit you from stepping into the northern frontier territory, you can still develop your own power behind the scenes and still pose a threat to the northern frontier. Therefore, if you choose to go out to sea, you have to help me conquer some sea demon clans. I will give you corresponding rewards, such as cultivation methods, resources, and even places on the overseas islands that can be considered as paradise. I can also give you directly. It was still the same sentence. If it was during the Qingping era, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to deal with the aristocratic families and sects in the south in one go. If he used forceful methods, it would undoubtedly lead to a counterattack. When that time came, no one would be able to gain any benefits. However, the problem of the Sky Demon was imminent. Under the situation where the northern frontier didn't attack the south and the guardians of the heavenly gates didn't take action, it was definitely impossible for the southern cultivation world to contend against the Sky Demon. Even if they could kill the Sky Demon's vessel, they didn't have the corresponding methods to seal the Sky Demon's actual body. Furthermore, no one dared to guarantee that their mental defenses were perfect and wouldn't be taken advantage of by the Sky Demon. In the face of this disaster, the aristocratic families and sects in the south could only choose to cooperate. When they were at their most united, they would be split up and then scattered to different places. With the support of the Northern Frontier Academy and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, they would naturally be able to bring peace to the world. As for not agreeing? Haha. Previously, you said that you would find a safe island for us in the Endless Sea, but you wouldn't interfere with our diplomatic issues with the Sea Demon clans. Now, you want us to help you conquer the Sea Demon clans. Can I assume that you're only using us as cannon fodder to help you conquer a territory in the Endless Sea on the northern frontier? When the Sea Demon clans take revenge, you'll push us out to vent their anger? This time, it wasn't Sun Xingzi who spoke. Instead, it was the representative of the He Tu family's second branch. As a force that had been named to be eliminated, he naturally wouldn't watch as Lin Yuan and these aristocratic families and sects rejoiced. Once they reached an agreement, the next step would be to stabilize the internal situation before resisting foreign aggression. At that time, none of the aristocratic families and sects that had been named by Lin Yuan would be able to escape. This is what I want to say. Lin Yuan glanced at the representative of the Li family meaningfully and secretly praised him for his assistance. After clearing his throat, he continued, even if you go to the sea and live in an environment surrounded by sea demons, you will still pose a great threat to the northern frontier. Therefore, you must prove your allegiance to me. If you don't offend some of the sea demon clans, won't you be able to ignore my protection at any time and return to the continent directly after you've recovered? Do we look like we have so much time to play with you? Prove their allegiance, including Sun Xingzi. All the cultivators in the south fell silent. Even the representative of the Li family didn't know how to refute him. There was no trust between them. Trying to gain something without risking anything was just wishful thinking. Chapter 954. Even if you want to show us your allegiance, shouldn't you let us know who we are going to deal with in the endless sea? The luxuriously dressed old man from before spoke again. A powerful aura was released, firmly locking onto the Li family's representative. Who among the people present here wasn't as cunning as a monkey when it came to hair? How many of them couldn't see through the Li family's intentions? The dragon tribe of the Four Seas and the Sea Demon Guild. Lin Yuan put his hands behind his back and answered without hesitation. In an instant, question marks appeared on the heads of everyone present. Although the dragon tribe of the Four Seas and the Sea Demon Guild were the forces in the deep sea of the Endless Sea, they were quite famous. No one would ask a stupid question like who the overlord of the Endless Sea was, and no one would question whether the Sea Demon Guild, which could take root in the deep sea and compete with the dragon tribe of the Four Seas, was as powerful as the legends said. They couldn't even deal with the demonic beasts in the outer sea. How could they deal with the dragon tribe of the Four Seas and the Sea Demon Guild? Wasn't this a joke? The information you know is old news. First of all, I can assure you that although the dragon tribe of the Four Seas is still powerful, they are weak in reality. Now, in the outer sea, the demonic beasts without dragon blood are killing and attacking each other, trying to build a huge empire in the outer sea that is not inferior to the dragon tribe of the Four Seas. For now, one is flourishing and the other is declining. The comprehensive strength gap is not big. I have a way to make the demonic beasts in the outer sea fight with the dragon blood beasts. The first is that some of you know that the deep sea of the Endless Sea has encountered some changes before, such as Sun Xingzi. Therefore, the situation in the deep sea is not good, especially the dragon tribe of the Four Seas. They suffered heavy losses in that catastrophe. Previously, they were competing with the Sea Demon Guild. But now, if the two sides really fight, the Sea Demon Guild will be the final winner. Moreover, there has always been friction between the two sides, so they need a fuse to ignite their conflict. Although the Siren Guild was powerful enough to stand up to the dragon tribe of the Four Seas, they were basically just an idle organization. Just like the Demon Slayer Guild, other than putting out a high bounty, they had no means to make all their members listen to their orders. They could bully the weak, but if they really wanted to bite a hard bone, they would break their own legs before they even made a move. This was the third reason. Once I find the right opportunity, the outer sea monster beasts will definitely give up on killing each other. After all, they have been bullied and discriminated against by the dragon bloodline monster beasts for so many years. The hatred between the outer sea monster beasts and the dragon palace of the Four Seas cannot be erased. However, if the Sea Monster Guild and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas work together, the outer sea monster beasts will not be able to gain any advantage in a short period of time. If you join us as reinforcements, you will immediately gain the friendship of the outer sea monster beasts. You will also have the protection of the northern frontier. At this point, Lin Yuan cleared his throat and said with a smile, the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas and the Sea Monster Guild are all in the past. It won't be long before the Endless Sea ushers in a round of reshuffling. At this time, don't you want to intervene and stand on the endless sea? The surroundings were still silent. However, many people's eyes lit up. If they had to choose between the sky demon and the demon beasts, most of the humans would choose the demon beasts. Not only because the sky demon was an existence that not everyone had the ability to kill or seal, but also because, from the prosperity of humanity to the present era, the demon beasts had always been an existence that humans could take as they pleased. Even the endless sea, which was the source of the demon veins on the land, was nothing more than livestock in the eyes of most humans. What was more, what could they get by killing the sky demon? Honor or praise? What was the point of that? But on the other hand, after killing the demon beasts, they could get the flesh of the demon beasts to cook dishes, the monster cores of the demon beasts to refine elixirs that could not be bought with money, and the claws, teeth, and bones of the demon beasts to refine divine weapons. The benefits were simply innumerable. The most important thing was that this was a war between the demon beasts. They did not need to take the risk to kill the demon beasts. They only needed to use all kinds of magical treasures and spells to support the demon beasts and wait for an opportunity to pick up the corpses of the demon beasts. They could make a fortune. It's easy to say that we have a foothold in the endless sea. The demon beasts in the outer sea and the dragon bloodline demon beasts can move freely underwater and can even use water-type spiritual energy to enhance their innate abilities. However, if we go to the endless sea, we have to set up a protective shield to isolate ourselves from the seawater. Before we even fight, our gang chi will start to deplete. The deeper we dive, the faster our gang chi will be depleted. We might even die in the endless sea. Even if you have a way to let the outer sea and the dragon bloodline demon beasts fight, you can't let them choose the surface of the sea as their battlefield, right? I really can't. Lin Yuan shook his head very honestly. The light in many people's eyes dimmed again. Lin Yuan sneered and said, however, the sky demon is here, senior. No matter if you choose to go north or go to sea, you will encounter all kinds of difficulties. Otherwise, if you insist on staying in the south and waiting for death, I have no way to persuade you. As I said, I'm just giving you a choice to live. I'm not here to be your nanny. Do you understand? If we really can't come to an agreement, you can choose to die. It will save us a lot of trouble at the northern frontier. The demon beast's elder still had a smile on his face. He opened his mouth but did not know how to refute. Did the northern frontier need them? No need. Guan Zhaoshan could casually create the Empress arsenal because she had a background in the northern frontier. This also meant that the northern frontier did not lack cultivation techniques, resources, and the like. The so-called sects and aristocratic families' inheritances were simply not worthy of their attention. Right now, the northern frontier's attitude was one of charity, not of bargaining. To put it simply, if you want to live, you have to risk your life for me. If I'm in a good mood, I'll reward you with something and let you continue to reproduce. If you don't want to cooperate with the northern frontier, then you can stay in the south and wait for death. The northern frontier definitely won't frown. Compared to the northern frontier acting on their own, they were even more inclined to let the sky demon deal with the southern cultivation world and the remaining resistance forces in the central plains. When the northern frontier was stabilized, they would go south and sweep away the sky demon in one fell swoop, completely devouring the former territory of the Shenwu dynasty. This was very cruel. But this was reality. There were no hot-blooded youths here who had just entered the Jianghu. They were all old people who had been in the south for many years. In their opinion, the northern frontier's methods were the most normal way of governing. Chapter 955. Thank you for your advice. The old man in luxurious robes sighed softly, then changed the topic and asked, "We understand what Miss Guan has said. Before we discuss and come up with an answer for Miss Guan, may I ask what your identity is in the northern region? Can your words today represent the attitude of the northern region? If we work for the northern region and end up with our families broken, wouldn't that be a joke?" The attitude of the northern frontier had been expressed, and the conditions had been listed. Life and death were decided in an instant. Under such circumstances, they had no room to bargain. But before that, they had to confirm Guan Zhaoshan's identity. If Guan Zhaoshan said she didn't have the final say, wouldn't they have given it for nothing? The Shenwu dynasty's territory isn't small. After Lei Qiusheng usurped the throne, he even expanded it slightly. But overall, it's divided into 4 regions. One is the northern frontier bordering the Hengduan Mountains, another is the Shuangjin dynasty's north, the central plains bordering the Qingjiang dynasty, and the south where you lived before. Among them, the central plains is the most stable, the south is the most prosperous, the north is the most vast, and the northern frontier is the most bitter. But now, the northern frontier and the north are both under the rule of the northern frontier. The two can be called the north, and this region is led by the king of the northern frontier, Li Zhong. As for the remaining central plains and south, as you know, our dragon king doesn't like trouble, so he won't show his power in front of others. He only needs to grasp the weakness of us humans and become the god of royalty. So, even if the northern frontier swallows the central plains and south, they won't establish a unified dynasty. After all, there are so many factions in the northern frontier now. It's fine to be under Li Zhong when they're all huddled together, but when the territory grows bigger, they'll definitely split up. After all, if they sleep in the same bed and dream different dreams for too long, there'll definitely be unforeseen events. Therefore, not long after, the king of the central plains and the king of the south will appear one after another. The 3 of them will unite to form the entire northern frontier. However, without the Dragon King's command, although the 3 of them are united, they'll still do things their own way. Lin Yuan slowly clenched his fists, a faint smile on his lips as he said in a deep voice, "The candidate for the king of the Central Plains has been decided. When the time comes, the head of the Ether Association, Jiu Wuying, will lead the Ether Association to the Central Plains to establish a dynasty. The candidate for the king of the South has not been decided yet. It requires achievements, connections, and reputation." If I put it this way, do you understand why the Ether Association is helping me, and why I will go against the great strategy of the northern frontier and give everyone a way out? Hiss. The sound of gasps could be heard again. Everyone had their own astonishment. For example, the leader of the Ether Association, a huge organization that was above the entire dark forces in the south, was actually the former crown prince of the Thousand Swords dynasty who had been dragged into hell before he could ascend to the throne. This was a huge organization that had been created right under Lei Qiusheng's nose. Of course, there were also those who were astonished by Lin Yuan's generosity. Dividing a dynasty into 3 dynasties, as long as Lin Yuan existed, the 3 would definitely be united and defend against external insults. However, a dynasty could not be compared to a dynasty. Even if they were given 10,000 years to develop, the 3 sides would still restrain and balance each other. No one could challenge Lin Yuan's authority. And this method of dividing the dynasties not only did not weaken the overall strength of the northern frontier, it also separated the different factions, so as to prevent the northern frontier's upper echelons from falling apart due to political differences. Such generosity and boldness were far from what ordinary people could compare to. If that was the case, the eyes of a group of southern cultivators immediately burned. This empress who had her family ruined and her family killed and went to the northern frontier undoubtedly had huge ambitions. She did not want to be ruled by Li Zhong, so she sought riches in danger and tried to become the future queen of the south. When the time came, there would be 3 kings. With Li Zhong being the oldest and having the deepest foundation, the Central Plains and the south would definitely have to work together to resist him. Therefore, Jiu Wuying would definitely support Guan Zhaoshan to ascend to the throne. The Northern Frontier Academy? The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce? Who knew if the Central Plains and the South would follow suit and build similar organizations? When that time came, whether they went to the Central Plains or stayed in the South, they would be able to transform from unorthodox cultivators into the upper echelons of one of the 3 dynasties in the future. Since Miss Guan said so, I understand. Sun Xingzi chuckled and said, "From today onwards, the Yangji sect will be disbanded. When this is over, we will definitely support Miss Guan to ascend to the throne of the South. Miss Guan is a southerner. If there is to be a queen, it will definitely be Miss Guan. We will definitely support you." "Me too." Immediately, the elders of the south all spoke up. Who didn't want power? Who wanted to leave their home? The throne of the northern frontier had already been decided. They had nothing to do with Li Zhong, so they would definitely not be able to gather enough merit to ascend to the throne. However, if they could build a relationship with Guan Zhaoshan and Jiao Wuying, it did not matter if they disbanded their sects or weakened the aristocratic families. They would enter the circle of the northern frontier. When the time came, would the northern frontier subtly influence them, or would they not listen to orders and make the Central Plains and the South independent? Wouldn't it all depend on their own abilities? This Guan will remember everyone's kindness. If that day really comes, this Guan will definitely not forget everyone's joint efforts. Lin Yuan cupped his fists at everyone, and the smile on his face gradually became warm. Eliminating the ambitions of the South's cultivation world, breaking up their unity, and even making them kill each other for benefits and power. On this day, he had already thoroughly planted the seeds. He was only waiting for the northern frontier's army to descend to the south to reap the harvest. Boiling the frog in warm water and burning the boat were two diametrically opposed strategies. Anyone who had the means would choose the former. Lin Yuan was no exception. As for whether the Central Plains and the South would listen to orders and not listen to orders, or whether Lin Yuan would maintain his divine majesty and descend to the South, it was not something these people who were full of tricks could decide. No matter how cunning they were, could they fight against the combined forces of Jiao Wuying, whose life was in Lin Yuan's hands, and Lin Yuan himself? It was impossible. Just wait for death. They coveted the resources that Yi Qingyu had given them, and they also wanted the path of survival that the northern frontier had given them. Now, they were still not satisfied and wanted to get their hands on the northern frontier's authority. Such scum had no value in living. It was better to cut them all down and use them as nutrients to nourish the soil of the northern frontier. After the crowd gradually dispersed, Jiao Wuying walked up to Lin Yuan and said in a deep voice, "Congratulations, Dragon King, for getting what you wanted. Not only did you ruin the Sky Demon's plan to descend to the south to search for carriers and have a decisive battle with the northern frontier, but you also defeated the alliance of the South's cultivation world without shedding a drop of blood. The establishment of a lie requires countless lies to make up for it." Lin Yuan's expression did not change as he said calmly, "Now, you should pretend to fully support me. Instead of wasting time, you should lead the Ether Society to a massacre." Chapter 956. At the end of this month, the entire South seemed to be covered in a layer of blood. After Lin Yuan changed the terms of the bet, the noble families and sects that had signed their names were all massacred. It was not that the Ether Society was strong. After all, since these factions dared to sign this bet, they naturally had plans to shed all pretense of cordiality. Therefore, when they joined forces, not only were they not inferior to the Ether Society, their combined strength was even stronger. But the problem was that after Lin Yuan expressed his stance, they would not only have to face the Ether Society. After knowing that Guan Zhaoshan was going to be the Southern King, and with the help of the Ether Society and the remnants of the Zhao clan, even the factions that had previously stayed out of the matter seemed to have gone crazy and participated in this massacre. If they could successfully get on the good side of the future Southern King, the benefits they could obtain would be so great that it would make people green with envy. With the cooperation of the Ether Society and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, with the bounty of points, the members of these factions were like demonic beasts that the demon-subduing Master Guild had put a bounty on. Even if they wanted to drink water, they had to first test whether the water was poisoned. They had to keep one eye open even when they slept, afraid that they would be assassinated unknowingly. With the cooperation of the Southern Forest Alliance, it would be a joke even if they wanted to send the old, weak, women, and children away. Due to Lin Yuan's outburst in Julu City, the children who were below the height of a wheel and infants in swaddling clothes could live, but they would be adopted and taught. Forget about avenging their clansmen or sects when they grew up, they would probably even forget their own names in a few years. Although they could preserve their bloodline, it was no different from dying out. As for the adults, or the young boys and girls who had already begun to remember, no one showed them the slightest bit of pity. Noble families and sects were such existences. When the factions they belonged to were prosperous, even if you were just a side branch or a servant, you could still make the rogue cultivators and mortals respect you when you walked out and revealed your identity. You could even obtain all kinds of conveniences and benefits when you went about your business. However, if the factions they belonged to were unlucky, all of them would be unlucky as well. No one could stay out of the matter. Slaughter, slaughter, endless slaughter. The cooperation of the entire southern cultivation world had almost cut off all paths of survival for these factions. Even the demon sect, who had always wanted to stir up trouble in the south, and the sky demon, who was moving their main forces south, kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to take the initiative to participate in this matter. After all, the words, Northern Frontier, were the biggest deterrent to Sky Demon. The Sky Demon did not go south for the sake of obtaining more carriers because they did not have enough carriers to start the final battle with the Northern Frontier. It was not that they had let go of the Northern Frontier, but that they had suffered heavy losses under the various tactics of the Northern Frontier. They had no choice but to give up their offensive posture in order to maintain the stalemate between the two sides. Otherwise, after a period of time, it would not be them attacking the Northern Frontier, but the army of the Northern Frontier going south to slaughter the Sky Demon. Yes, slaughter. Among the Sky Demon who had invaded the Shinwu dynasty, there were new Sky Demons, and there were also old Sky Demons who had invaded several worlds. It was not that they had never seen an existence that could kill a Sky Demon, but it was really the first time they had seen a faction like the Northern Frontier, where everyone could kill a Sky Demon. If it were not for the fact that the two sides were still in a stalemate and the war had not yet concluded, there might have been Sky Demon who could not hold back and rushed out of the Shinwu dynasty's sphere of influence to surrender to the Elysium Guardians. After all, being captured and sealed for hundreds of years and being completely killed were two completely different concepts. As for whether the Elysium Guardians would hand over the Sky Demon that they had sealed to the Northern Frontier to deal with? What a joke! There were so many Sky Demons sealed on the Tianwu continent. Even if the builders of some forbidden areas had passed away, and outsiders had no way of retrieving the items that sealed the Sky Demon, that did not mean that the Elysium Guardians had lost control over all the Sky Demon. However, up until now, there were so many so-called seal-breaking Sky Demons that had caused the Elysium Guardians unspeakable suffering. Which faction would send their sealed Sky Demon to the Northern Frontier to be slaughtered? Although the Sky Demon was ruthless and bloodthirsty, he was not a fool. There were already higher-ups in the Sky Demon who had realized that the Northern Frontier had most likely already had an irreconcilable conflict with the Elysium Guardians. However, the conflict between the Northern Frontier and the Elysium Guardians was one thing, but the two sides would not fight because of this. Right now, the Sky Demon had just changed their strategic target, and the members of the Northern Frontier had appeared in the south. To the Sky Demon, this was undoubtedly bad news. When the sun set, Lin Yuan, who had settled down in the headquarters of the Ether Society, picked up the bronze wine bottle in front of him and drank all the wine in one gulp. His expression was somewhat gloomy. According to the embroidered uniform guard's intelligence, the Sky Demon had already arrived in the south. However, he had caused such a huge commotion in the south. Not only did the Sky Demon not take advantage of the situation to fish in troubled waters, he had even temporarily let go of some of the southern cities that he was about to take down. He had gathered his troops and retreated 15 kilometers outside the city, as if he wanted to see what was going on in the coastal areas before making his next move. This also meant that the Sky Demon did not know about the trouble that the Northern Frontier was currently facing. They had deployed their troops in the south, but because of Guan Zhaoshan's identity as a member of the Northern Frontier, they had stopped. It was obvious that they were wary of the methods of the Northern Frontier. They were worried that the chaos in the south this time was because the Northern Frontier had planned to trap and kill a batch of Sky Demon. They would also take this opportunity to lure the Northern Frontier's troops south and watch over the Central Plains. This was a good thing, but at the same time, it was also a bad thing. Lin Yuan would never forget that previously, a second-generation Sky Demon with a noble bloodline had escaped into the Hengduan Mountains and disappeared without a trace. Further back, the Purgatory Lu family's old ancestor had also escaped into the Hengduan Mountains after destroying the mountain-blocking city and disappeared without a trace. If this second-generation sky demon still existed in this world, it would be impossible for him not to come out and stir up a storm. At the very least, he would not watch the sky demon army return in defeat at the Wei River without doing anything. If the northern frontier had good weather, Lin Yuan would not have such thoughts. However, there was a shadow demon, Su Yan, in the northern frontier, and an unknown number of immortals. Those immortals with intelligence had also disappeared. Currently, the only one who was still active was Lei Fan, who had cultivated the scripture of living. The second-generation sky demon, the demonized Fang Tian, the resurrected Lei Fan, the sudden increase in immortals, and the shadow demon, Su Yan, these existences that had mysteriously disappeared and mysteriously appeared one after another were constantly reminding Lin Yuan that an invisible net was coming towards him. If he could not find the other party before they took the initiative to show themselves, then he would definitely be doomed. Chapter 957. Who could it be? Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. The existence hiding in the shadows was definitely not some nameless person. To be able to order Lei Fan and Su Yan around was nothing much. After all, they were just two natives of the Sky Martial continent. To an ancient being, they were just ants that could be destroyed with a wave of their hand. But even Red Cloud Daoist and Drought Demon, these famous ancient beings were played in the palm of the other party. Lin Yuan had even thought that the existence that turned the northern frontier into an underworld was Drought Demon. But the previous confrontation had overturned this point of view. Such methods, such shrewdness, what was that person trying to do? Lin Yuan felt an inexplicable sense of frustration. He was not afraid of powerful enemies, because those so-called powerful enemies were just a mountain in front of him. As long as he worked hard, he would be able to climb over the mountain sooner or later and step on the peak of the mountain under his feet. However, the other party's move was like a poisonous snake hiding in the grass, approaching Lin Yuan little by little, waiting for a good enough time to bite Lin Yuan and inject deadly venom into his body. Lord Dragon King, the chaos in the south has been quelled. No matter what the remaining cultivators are thinking, at least before the problem is solved, they will definitely not have the guts to fall out with the northern frontier. Your subordinate congratulates the Dragon King first. Xiao Wuying's voice sounded from behind him, accompanied by the sound of the black armor rubbing against each other as he walked. It sounded unusually cold and hard. The chaos cannot be considered as a disaster. And among the remaining people, there are many who deserve to die. Many of them will join me, and there may be many who will join you. But my attitude, you should understand it, right? Lin Yuan placed the bronze wine bottle on the table in front of him, and replied expressionlessly. Although the Dragon King has given them two ways to survive, whether it is going north or going out to sea, they can avoid the disaster of the Sky Demon. But the Dragon King has said that there is no beginning and no end to the three kings. This also means that there is only one way to survive. Either they obediently go to the northern frontier, come into contact with all the armed forces and cooperate with the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce and the Northern Frontier Academy, or they will die. There is no need to say more about the sections. Whether it is in the past, present, or future, the sects of the Northern Frontier will only exist in the form of the Academy, and will be directly under the jurisdiction of the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion. You can allow the sects to integrate into the Northern Frontier Academy, but you will definitely not allow any sects to exist independently of the Academy. Anyone who resists this rule is disloyal, and should be killed. As for the aristocratic families, small and medium-sized aristocratic families may be spared, but for the large aristocratic families and even the first-class families to integrate into the northern frontier, it is tantamount to a fool's dream. Even if you are willing to do so, with Li Zhong's methods, you will not be able to suppress them for a while. And aristocratic families are never reasonable. As long as they have a firm foothold, their roots will grow deeper and deeper. So, these people must be killed, and at the very least, a large aristocratic family must be divided into different small and medium-sized aristocratic families and placed in different places. Jiao Wuying's gaze turned, and he said loudly. At this point, he paused, and suddenly changed the topic. He asked doubtfully. The Dragon King's thoughts are not difficult to guess, but I do not understand why the Dragon King values the Northern Frontier Academy so much. Lin Yuan was slightly startled, and turned his head to look at Xiao Wuying, who was wrapped in pitch-black armor. What I want to say is that the Dragon King's banning of the sects has always been something that the imperial dynasties could not do. It has both advantages and disadvantages for the imperial dynasties, but overall, the benefits are definitely great, because this will make the imperial dynasties more stable. But similar things can be done by the imperial court, just like how Lei Qiusheng trained Shen Lin Jun, directly taught by the imperial court and the imperial clan. Not only can it ensure tyrannical fighting power, but it can also guarantee loyalty. If it is like now, those sects teach their own things, it is easy for them to learn miscellaneous things, and loyalty will also be a problem. If their teachers are not loyal to the Northern Frontier, how can these students be loyal to the Northern Frontier? Xiao Wuying bowed, and his tone was somewhat resentful, as if he was worried that Lin Yuan would be angry. The Northern Frontier Academy's 100 Schools of Thought debate will indeed cause many students of the Academy to learn miscellaneous things, but on the other hand, isn't this also a round of screening? If one doesn't have enough talent but is well versed in the various schools of thought, then he will definitely be a mediocre person. Such people, even if they are assigned to various positions after graduation, will only be officials. If they are not capable enough, they will not be able to achieve results, and naturally will not be able to be promoted. But they also ensure that there will be no shortage of low-level officials at the bottom, and those who are proficient in one or several schools of thought will naturally stand out very quickly. There is no need to waste time slowly testing how much talent a person has. In addition, it is precisely because the Northern Frontier Academy is gentle with the various sects that we have enough confidence to keep the instructors and deans loyal. Because if they continue to integrate members of the sects, their positions will become more and more unstable. Even if they have hidden some secrets before, as time passes, they will have no choice but to dig out their secrets. Only by cultivating outstanding students can they keep their positions. On the other hand, if you work so hard, will the instructors who join the academy be willing to be under you? Lin Yuan raised the wine pot and poured himself a cup, and said with a cold smile, "Furthermore, letting the imperial court directly teach the youths of the Northern Frontier will definitely cause them to form cliques for their own selfish interests. When their students have formed into a certain scale, they will be like the old officials of the Wangjian dynasty." Even Lei Qiusheng felt as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat, but there was no way to deal with them. "So, do you hope that in the future, under your rule, there will be such existences?" Xiao Wuying's pupils suddenly shrank. Now everyone knows that as long as one is born in the Northern Frontier Academy, one will be able to hold an iron bowl in the Northern Frontier. However, as time passes, the threshold to enter the Northern Frontier Academy will become higher and higher. It is hard to say what the future of these students, who will not be able to learn for a long time and come out to serve the Northern Frontier with a skill, will be. But what I can be sure of is that in the Northern Frontier Academy, the better one's aptitude, the more they will learn. The more they learn, the longer they will need to learn. Such people will be the future pillars of the Northern Frontier. So, in the near future, not everyone will have the right to enter the Northern Frontier Academy. Based on their learning progress, the length of time each person will study in the Northern Frontier Academy is different, and the position they hold after graduation will also change. Once again drinking the wine in the wine cup, Lin Yuan said with a smile, "Only when all aspects are combined can the Northern Frontier Academy develop better and better. The teachers will do their best, and the students will die for it. Not to mention the loyalty of Shen Lin Jun and Lei Qiusheng, these students will definitely cherish the position they have earned through years of hard work. In addition, their teachers are not officials, so it will be difficult for them to form cliques for their own selfish interests, right?" Chapter 958. Thank you for your advice. Xiao Wuying saluted Lin Yuan with his hands folded in front of his chest. His eyes flashed with joy. It was not that he did not understand the policy of establishing the Northern Frontier Academy, but that he wanted to take this opportunity to test Lin Yuan's attitude. After all, although there was no arrangement for the three kings before, the more Xiao Wuying thought about it, the more he felt that the future structure should be like this. Only in this way could he solve the problem of factions in the northern frontier. If Lin Yuan was vague or suppressed him, it meant that Lin Yuan did not intend to give him power in the future. But if Lin Yuan was willing to discuss such a matter with him, it meant that the Three Kings theory was indeed true. He would indeed become the king of the Central Plains after he led the troops south from the northern frontier. Although his power was not comparable to that of the Emperor of 10,000 Swords back then, the northern region relied on Lin Yuan. Even if he was only the ruler of a dynasty, his authority was not comparable to that of the Emperor of 10,000 Swords back then. The joy in Zhou Wuying's eyes could not be hidden from Lin Yuan's perception. And Lin Yuan did not point it out. He just waved his hand casually and said indifferently, "I heard that Mo Ta the Endless Sea has returned. This means that the dissimulated man of the Endless Sea does intend to cooperate with us to obtain the deep sea area. Lead him to see me." War had always been a very metaphysical thing. Just like the Song dynasty in the history of his previous life, from the perspective of later generations, it was as weak as the Song dynasty. But at that time, it actually had the best military strength in the world. Whether it was the quality of the soldiers, the weapons and equipment, or the organization of the army, it was the best in the world. But it was defeated in every battle. Behind this was nothing more than the calculations of some people. After a long period of defeat, deserters and defeated soldiers had taken over the mainstream. Those who dared to fight and could fight had actually died on the battlefield. But in history, when the Song dynasty and the Liao dynasty fought, those with less than 100 people won and those with more than 100 people lost. This was because as long as there was a large-scale war, individual courage was almost negligible. And all the soldiers thought that even if they did not run, their comrades would choose to run. Then what was the point of fighting? It was so in the Song dynasty, and so was the increasingly decadent Liao dynasty. Therefore, the Jurchens, who fought their way out of the barren hills and turbulent rivers, created the legend of, the Jurchens are invincible when they are not 10,000 strong. However, scheming was an everlasting theme. No matter who it was very difficult to overcome this hurdle. It was just like how generals who were good at war often died on the execution ground. This time, Lin Yuan used Guan Zhaoshan to contact the sea monsters because the dragon race of the Four Seas had joined forces with the Sea Monster Guild to scheme against him. However, he turned around and joined forces with the sea monsters to beat them at their own game. He planned to give the dragon bloodline sea monsters a ruthless blow. But aside from this, how could the sea monsters not scheme against each other? The dragon race of the Four Seas had suffered greatly in the fight against the Great Old Ones. Of course, they had taken the initiative to hide the news, but did the Siren Guild and those powerful Siren tribes really not notice at all? But that might not be the case. You schemed against me, I schemed against you. Since Mo Ta had turned back to the south to see him this time, it meant that the demon beasts in the outer seas had reached a consensus. They had chosen to temporarily live in harmony and join forces to attack the dragon clan of the Four Seas, whose vitality had been greatly damaged, and the Sea Demon Guild, whose demonic hearts were not united. It could be that they were scheming against each other. Which clan was responsible for which region? Who was going to gnaw on those tough bones? After the war ended, if some of the clans suffered heavy losses, would the other clans continue to fulfill the previous agreement? It didn't take long for Mo Ta to appear in Lin Yuan's line of sight under the leadership of Qiao Wuying. Subsequently, Qiao Wuying bowed slightly and left the room. His humble posture was difficult to pick on from the beginning to the end. Obviously, after testing Lin Yuan's attitude, this former crown prince had finally begun to face up to his achievements in the south. Since General has turned back, you must have brought me good news, right? Lin Yuan looked at Mo Ta with a smile and said softly. Mo Ta was silent for a moment before he said in a low voice, "Yes, I went back to pay a visit to His Majesty." After His Majesty learned of the Dragon King's thoughts, he also met with the majesties of the other forces. Now that the demon beasts in the outer seas have stopped fighting, when the Dragon King has prepared the transmission formation, he can send a signal. At that time, the allied forces formed by the demon beasts in the outer seas will certainly completely defeat those rotten dragon kings' rights and interests in the endless sea. Yes, the demon beasts in the outer seas were dying for it. Not only did they want to defeat the dragon blood demonic beasts to avenge the years of oppression and humiliation, but they also didn't simply want to occupy the deep sea region. There were 3 demon veins in the world. The strongest was the endless sea, followed by the Hengduan mountain range, and the weakest was the southern wilderness demon land. If it weren't for the mysterious demon venerable, the southern wilderness might not even be as good as the northern frontier. However, in the past 3 years, the comprehensive strength of the Hengduan mountain range had been improving rapidly. Although the gap between the 3 demon veins was huge and couldn't be closed in a few years, with the existence of the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, the speed of improvement of the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range was far from what the other 2 demon veins could compare with. This was also the case even if the southern wilderness had the money-squandering dens and the gentle villages that extracted chi essence into elixirs. Otherwise, how could the demon venerable casually bare his fangs to the northern frontier after remaining aloof for so many years? The demon beasts in the outer seas couldn't wait for the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce to enter the endless sea. In this way, they could exchange all the resources they needed in the most convenient way, just like the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. They didn't need to rely on luck like before. Lin Yuan stared at Mo Ta and made 3 nasal sounds in a row. There was a faint smile in his heterochromatic eyes. Of course, we demon beasts are particular about repaying kindness and taking revenge for enmity. Mo Ta was silent for a moment before he slowly said, "This time, Your Excellency has been ordered by the Dragon King to stop the war in the outer seas. This is a great favor to us and has also given us the opportunity to attack the deep sea. This is also a great favor. Merely protecting the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce that the Dragon King built in the Endless Sea is naturally not enough to repay the Dragon King's kindness. Therefore, once the war starts, we will cut off all contact with the Southern Wilderness. If the Southern Wilderness attacks the Northern frontier, we won't sit idly by. The demon beasts in the outer seas will be the Dragon King's most loyal allies. Other than this, if Your Excellency has any other requests, you may as well tell me. As long as they aren't too excessive, Mo Ta can promise them on behalf of all the emperors. The Southern Wilderness's money-squandering dens and gentle villages were indeed good. However, that demon venerable had been monopolizing them for many years. Even if there were outflows, the price was extremely expensive. It was far less popular than the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's development of an area that would benefit everyone. Therefore, when the question of befriending the Northern frontier or the Southern Wilderness was raised, no one would choose the Southern Wilderness. Chapter 959. I've already made my request. The cultivation world in the south will soon be empty. Moreover, I have no intention of stationing a strong army in the south for the time being. Whether it's the Azure River Empire or the Southern Wasteland Demon Venerable, they're not worth my time to deal with. It'll be as easy as flipping my hand to deal with them after I've settled the matter at hand. Therefore, during this period of time, I don't wish for the demonic beasts in the Endless Sea to cause trouble for me. I'm not asking you to help me attack the Southern Wasteland. I only ask that you maintain a stance of not offending the South. The things you need will naturally fall into your hands after the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce operates. In addition, although you're full of confidence in this war, the outcome is hard to predict. No one can say for sure. Therefore, I've found some reinforcements for you. They're part of the cultivators who were originally cultivating in the south. Although they're not as good at water battles as the aquatic demonic beasts, they're not weak in water either. If they're supplemented by special artifacts, they'll be able to exert considerable power in water battles. I plan to temporarily place these people on some islands in the endless outer sea. I'll have to trouble you to go back and inform the allied forces so that they won't have internal strife before they even face the dragon bloodline demonic beasts. Lin Yuan cupped his fists at Mo Ta, then took out 2 white beads of different sizes and said in a deep voice, "Once this small bead is crushed, it can be used to construct a temporary transmission array. Regardless of realm, it can allow more than 1,000 demonic beasts to pass through and reach the city of trade established by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce in the Willowstone Sea region. When you're ready, you can send in a batch of elites through this array. Firstly, it'll help the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce resolve the hidden danger of the sunken reef. Secondly, with these demonic beasts as scouts, I'll let you keep in touch regularly. Therefore, you don't have to worry that I'll deceive you with this matter. I'll have to trouble you to make the arrangements. Mo-Ta put away the 2 beads. Then, he turned his gaze and asked doubtfully, what's the use of this large bead? If it's also used to construct a transmission array, isn't it a little too small? The large bead was about twice the size of the small cylinder. Both were made of the same material. If their functions were the same, it meant that this large bead could only allow 2,000 to 3,000 demonic beasts to enter the deep sea region at most. But what about the 1,000 demonic beasts from before? Such strength was not enough to take down the great willow stone wall built by the dragon race of the 4 seas. Unless these 3,000 demonic beasts were all at the pinnacle of the Demon King realm or even the Ancestor Demon realm. However, even if all the powerful demonic beasts in the outer sea were to gather together, they still wouldn't be able to gather so many experts. Moreover, they couldn't possibly trust the other party's words so easily and let the various patriarchs and even some of the leaders of the allied forces risk their lives, right? This big bead is not used to build a temporary teleportation array. Besides, it's useless for you to crush it. It will only work if I crush the other bead here. By then, the bead in your hand will tell the Dragon King your coordinates. The Dragon King will then be able to summon the supreme power to build a teleportation array that can allow the army of demon beasts to pass through. Once it succeeds, the willow stone defense line built by the dragons of the 4 seas will be as good as nothing. Lin Yuan bowed slightly and said with a smile, the northern frontier doesn't have many deployments in the endless sea. Even in the face of a pirate gang at the level of the sunken reef, we are helpless. Therefore, in the coming war, it will be very difficult for us to help you. Therefore, helping you cross the willow stone defense line is the sincerity of the northern frontier. I will report your words truthfully to the monarch. When we are ready, we will send people to deal with the sunken reef. Mo-Ta nodded, then hugged his 2 pectoral fins together and said in a deep voice, since we have come to an agreement, I won't disturb you any further. We, the demon beasts of the outer sea, are definitely the most loyal allies of the northern frontier. Please rest assured, Your Excellency. Lin Yuan nodded with a smile on his face. After watching Mo-Ta leave, he cleared his throat. Dressed in black armor, Jiao Wuiying once again strode in through the door. He saluted Lin Yuan with cupped fists and did not speak, silently waiting for Lin Yuan's orders. I have already had the embroidered uniform guard draw up a list, so you don't need to worry about it. For those cultivators who want to go out to sea to avoid this calamity and return to the south after this matter is over, or who want to join our sect, this is the list. Go and prepare a ship. Sail according to the sea chart I gave Chen Ping. Along the way, there will be monster beasts from the outer sea guiding the route. Once they have been sent to their destination, you will also lead people north and investigate a matter for me. If this matter is completed, I will give you everything you deserve. As for what to do after you return, just act according to the circumstances. There is no need for you to listen to Li Zhong's orders. If he makes things difficult for you, just say it is my intention. Lin Yuan took out a stack of yellow oiled paper from his clothes and gently placed it on the table in front of him. In the end, he added, this body will be temporarily with you. Find a safe house that hasn't been used before and store it there. After you leave, remember to seal the entrance and exit. Don't give the Sky Demon any chance to take advantage of it. The last sentence he added was the main point. No one knew the strength of Guan Zhaoshan's body better than Lin Yuan. Even Guan Zhaoshan herself was like this. If the Sky Demon obtained this body and used the power that Lin Yuan had established in the south, it wouldn't take long before all of Lin Yuan's arrangements in the south would be completely disrupted. It might even directly cut off Lin Yuan's path back to the northern frontier. Even though the body of a deity was not so easy to obtain, there was always a possibility. If it was placed in a sealed underground space, there wouldn't be that sky demon bored enough to burrow underground to play. When the voice fell, Lin Yuan was already lying on the table in front of him. The blue and white color in his eyes quickly faded. Although there were still physical instinctive reactions such as breathing, there was no longer any vitality in his eyes that gradually revealed a dark color. Jiao Wuying acted as if he didn't see Lin Yuan's consciousness leave. He still maintained a bowing posture and replied solemnly, yes. When he bowed to the end, Jiao Wuying slowly straightened his body. He took off the pitch-black mask on his body, revealing a normal human face. Staring at the vegetative Guan Zhaoshan, Jiao Wuying's face gradually revealed a sinister smile. Hiss! The snake's tongue slid out, and poisonous saliva dripped down, corroding a small hole in the wooden floor. If I were you, I wouldn't choose to do that. Chen Ping's indifferent voice suddenly sounded behind Jiao Wuying. There was a touch of laziness in his tone. Not only will it not solve the problem, but it will also make the Black Jiao guarding the endless sea vigilant. It's not good for the overall situation, so you need to continue to be dormant and wait for a suitable opportunity to give it a fatal blow. Migu Cup begs ***. Search Migu Cup, male style on the homepage. Scroll down and you will see the evolution starting from the giant python. Everyone has a free ticket. Chapter 960. Hibernate? Continue to hibernate? What is the use of hibernating? Jiao Wuying's face darkened as he turned his head. With a cold face, he said, thanks to this black dragon, I have become neither human nor ghost. Even the person behind you has no way to get rid of the strange poison in my body. Does this not mean that other than being a dog obediently, there is no way for me to survive? Since I am going to die anyway, I might as well mess up his plan in the south. When the endless sea is in chaos, I will completely cut off his path to the north. Then I can be with him. Return. To end. Chen Ping shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, let me correct you. It is not that the one behind me cannot get rid of the blood poison in your body. It is that you cannot bear the pain. If you can maintain your consciousness at the critical point of death, then the one behind me can instantly change the blood in your body. So what? Besides, we have already helped you get rid of the poison of the dragonization root, and restored your appearance to a normal person. This has already shown enough sincerity. Do you really want to mess up the overall situation because of a moment of anger? Jiao Wuying coldly snorted and put on the black helmet again. He said coldly, sincerity? Until now, I still do not know what the one behind you is planning. You say you want to kill the Black Jiao, but you are protecting him everywhere. But you first messed up the northern frontier and then plotted against the south. I do not see the slightest bit of sincerity. Chen Ping was silent for a while, then he coldly laughed and gently waved his hand. You and I are frogs at the bottom of the well. In the eyes of such a powerful person, we are only one or two idlers. How can a chess piece guess what the chess piece is thinking? Forget it, forget it. Everything ends here. You ask for freedom, I ask for freedom. As long as we can achieve our goal in the end, why should we care about what that person is planning? Jiao Wuying still had a cold face and said expressionlessly, it is easy to say. How do I know that if I sincerely help you, I will not become a chess piece in the hands of the Black Jiao and become a chess piece in the hands of the one behind you? No one is forcing you to believe it. Chen Ping's expression changed to one of glee. He took a step forward and instantly came to Jiao Wuying's side. He reached out and put his arm around Jiao Wuying's shoulder. He said with a smile, let's go. You know that person's temper is not good. If you are impulsive today, perhaps, what you want is not the so-called freedom, endless sea, Willowstone Sea area, city of trade. Lin Yuan's body, which was maintained at a height of around 10 meters, slowly opened his eyes. Blue and white light blossomed, and as his body moved, his gradually stiffening body began to move. He muttered, Jiaowen's brain. I told it to maintain my body's temperature, but it only knows how to do this. It's not smart at all. Doesn't it know to find someone to give me a massage from time to time to move my blood? How can I please my superiors like this? When can I become the true king of the gray-scaled flood dragon people? Sighing, Lin Yuan shook his head helplessly. Currently, the gray-scaled flood dragon people were developing in an orderly manner. However, it was basically supported by Lin Yuan's divine sense clone and Cyrus. Jiaowen, the true king of the gray-scaled flood dragon people, was more like a handyman who dealt with all the trivial matters. According to this trend, Lin Yuan really could not make up his mind to give the gray-scaled flood dragon people, which was growing day by day, to Jiaowen. Father God, you're awake. About 3 to 5 minutes later, Jiaowen, who was wearing casual clothes, walked into the palace where Lin Yuan's body was. After pushing the door open, his eyes met with Lin Yuan's, and his face immediately filled with joy. Yes, the problems outside have all been solved. When we're ready, crush this pearl. When the time comes, there will be foreign sea monsters that will come to the city of trade through the teleportation formation. Just leave the sunken reefs outside to them. Lin Yuan opened his mouth and spat out a white pearl. Then, he gently swung his tail and said, also, you have to grasp the timing yourself. Don't ask for Cyrus' help, and I won't give you any suggestions. You should know that I will leave the endless sea soon, and the responsibility of the gray-scaled flood dragon people will eventually fall on your shoulders. Remember, you are the king of the gray-scaled flood dragon people, and Cyrus is only a strategist who will assist you. It won't be moved by the life and death of any gray-scaled flood dragon people. Perhaps you won't either, but this is your innate responsibility. King. Jiaowen held the white pearl that Lin Yuan gave him, and a confused expression appeared on his face. He didn't understand what a king was. As one of the last clans created by Lin Yuan, Jiaowen wasn't interested in authority. He was more like a devout believer than the king of a clan. In his eyes, serving Lin Yuan was even more important than maintaining the reproduction of the clan. If it wasn't for the fact that the larger the clan of gray-scaled flood dragon people was, the more faith power Lin Yuan could obtain, he wouldn't have bothered with this matter at all. If you don't understand what a king is, you can ask Taimu. Lin Yuan sighed, and said earnestly, when you can distinguish your own desires and the clan's desires, and when you can make a decision between the two, you will understand what this word means to the entire clan. After all, Jiaowen was a clan created by Lin Yuan himself. In a certain sense, Jiaowen was like Lin Yuan's child. Currently, the gray-scaled flood dragon people were also developing and reproducing at an extremely fast speed, but their ideas were extremely ancient. There was no room for them to develop their etiquette and culture. Other than maintaining their life functions and the reproduction of their clan, the most important thing for the gray-scaled flood dragon people was to organize a sacrificial ceremony for their father god, Lin Yuan. Through the sacrificial ceremony, they would provide Lin Yuan with additional faith power. For a clan, this was no different from self-destruction. Just like in the game, the Night King could destroy all living things on the continent, but his highest priority was to kill Bran. This was because Bran represented the memories and culture of the humans in the game. As long as these weren't destroyed, the humans wouldn't be destroyed. It wasn't like the gray-scaled flood dragon people right now, where all of them were killed. Even if there were still descendants, they wouldn't be gray-scaled flood dragon people anymore. Taimu, Jiaowen muttered once again. He and Taimu were two extremes. In order to serve Lin Yuan, he could give up everything he had, whether it was his clan or his emotions. However, Taimu could give up his freedom and dignity for the sake of the reproduction of his clan. When countless Siren clans looked down on Lin Yuan, he resolutely stepped onto Lin Yuan's warship. He could even give up his own children, hoping that the brave Crab clan could continue to reproduce under Lin Yuan's command, and not be destroyed by the calamity of the old rulers. Chapter 961. Go, I'm tired. I want to rest for a while. Lin Yuan waved his tail again and ordered Jiao Yi to leave. After Jiao Yi left, Lin Yuan's eyes gradually dimmed. In fact, he had heard the conversation between Xiao Wuying and Shen Ping. Lin Yuan would not fully trust anyone, not to mention that his road to the north was still stuck in the hands of Xiao Wuying. Once there was a problem with him, he would fall into a situation of eternal damnation at any time. Previously, he only felt that there was an invisible net covering him. From Lei Fan to Xiao Wuying. No, to be more precise, from the moment the ancestor of the Lu family took over Fang Tian's body and disappeared in the Hengduan Mountains, this net had already covered him. Every move and even the hidden schemes were just a play in the eyes of the other party. And now, the other party was gradually unveiling his mysterious veil. The time bombs hidden around him were exposed one by one. Did this mean that the other party was planning to pull the net? Hengduan Mountains. Hengduan Mountains. What kind of secret is hidden in the Hengduan Mountains? Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly as he softly muttered. Although the southern wasteland demon Venerable was mysterious, he could roughly guess his strength. To be able to create a gold-squandering cave, a gentle village, and not lose in a direct confrontation with two great empires, even if this demon Venerable's strength was not at the ancestor demon realm, it was at the peak of the demon king realm. Whether it was the deep sea region or the outer sea region, the endless sea could be said to be truly powerful. However, the strength of the various sea demon clans also caused them to be in discord. The bloodline discrimination of the Four Seas Dragon clan intensified this series of conflicts. However, without a doubt, as long as the Heavenly Gate's guardian did not suppress them, the Endless Sea's sea demons could easily destroy the entire Tianwu continent if they worked together. On the contrary, the famous Hengduan Mountains, as the ancestral vein of the land demonic beasts, the final resting place of the ancient demonic beasts, the Hengduan mountain range was the nightmare of countless humans. It was also the battlefield where countless demon slayers fought for fame and fortune. It was also the only superpower in the entire martial heaven world that was only at a slight disadvantage when fighting against the Seven Empires. But that was where the strangeness lay. The seven great empires were nominally independent empires, but their respective royal families were all puppets supported by the guardians of the heavenly gates. Other than Lei Qiusheng, who had usurped the throne, there was no need to doubt the loyalty of any royal family to the guardians of the heavenly gates. This was because they simply did not have the strength to resist. No matter how good one's aptitude was as the emperor of a dynasty, the limit of one's cultivation realm was only the heavenly dipper realm. This was the rule of the Elysium Guardians, and no one dared to break it. Even the ambitious Lei Qiusheng only dared to nurture a shadow. As for Lin Yuan, he had personally experienced the tyranny of the Heavenly Gate Guardians. Although he had never seen the true upper echelons of this system, just by looking at the attitude of those Tao Initiation Realm cultivators and their disciples, he could infer that these Heavenly Gate Guardians truly viewed themselves as overlords. So here comes the question. On the surface, the strongest existence in the Hengduan mountain range was only the desolate demon realm's beast lord Kirin. Even if it had the bloodline and inheritance of the desolate demon realm, the gap between the realms was not fake. Even if Tao Initiation Realm cultivators were no match for it, would Supreme Realm cultivators be no match for it? Could it be that the Heavenly Gate Guardians did not know how big of a treasure was hidden in the Hengduan mountain range? It was impossible that they did not know. After the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce was established, Lin Yuan had already encountered the Heavenly Gate Guardians before he had even settled his relationship with the other 6 empires. For example, Ding Zai and the others had been lying low for a long time. This meant that they had long coveted the resources in the Hengduan mountain range. It was just that, for some reason, they did not dare to make a move. Incubus is from the desolate demon realm. The 3 beast lords are also from the desolate demon realm. There are also many clan leaders and elders of the other large clans. Although they are not considered weak, in the eyes of the Heavenly Gate Guardians, such strength is as laughable as ants that can be easily crushed. Besides, Incubus, the 3 beast lords and the other demonic beasts of the desolate demon realm have differences in strength, but that is only the difference in their bloodline and how far they have walked on the path of the desolate demon realm. Then, how are the beast lords and the 3 beast lords divided? Lin Yuan's eyes were gloomy. He murmured again, what kind of existence is secretly maintaining the authority of the Beast Lords and the 3 Beast Lords? For demonic beasts who do not know how to hide their desires, authority, freedom, and resources are all things that they are willing to sacrifice their lives to fight for. Even if the demonic beast imperial court is not as strong as it was in the past, it is not to the extent that there is not a single demonic beast who dares to challenge the authority, right? Even if the Beast Lord Kirin intends to pass down the position of the Beast Lord, the other demonic beast clans have to abide by the rules and compete honestly. They do not dare to use the influence of the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce to play tricks like me. This was very strange and very unrealistic. Lin Yuan was sure that there was a big secret hidden in the Hengduan Mountains. Incubus knew this secret, the Heavenly Gate Guardians knew it, and the 3 Beast Lords should know it too. However, among the 3 Beast Lords, the Sacred Heart Ape King, who was the most intelligent, and the Colorful Snake Queen, who was the most secretive, were all missing. Only the Honed Ice Wolf King, who was always in charge of foreign wars, was left. He looked as if he had been beaten silly. No matter what he asked, he could not explain it clearly. It was obviously not feasible to ask the higher-ups of the Hengduan Mountains to understand the secret. Then, what about the Heavenly Gate Guardians? Since they were willing to maintain such an honest relationship with the Hengduan Mountains, there was no doubt that they had suffered a lot in the hands of the secret hidden in the depths of the Hengduan Mountains when they were influenced by greed. Even now, they still did not dare to think about the Hengduan Mountains. They only wanted to rely on Lin Yuan to help them. But who should he ask? Those with a low status might not know, and those with a high status might not see him. Troublesome. Moreover, the biggest reason why he wanted to know the identity of the other party was not because he had unknowingly fallen into a dead end, but because he wanted to know if the other party came from the Eldritch world. If it was, then did Red Cloud Daoist and the others know about the existence of such a person? If even these Eldritch world creatures who fled to the Tianwu world did not know about it, then there was only one possibility. That fellow was Hongjuan's lackey. Lord Dragon King, Lord Scarlet from the Sea Demon Association wishes to see you. He said that he has something important to discuss with you personally. Our advice was to no avail. He still insists on seeing you now. The voice of a grayscaled flood dragon person suddenly rang out from outside the door. However, he did not take any further action. It was obvious that he knew his limits and did not dare to disturb Lin Yuan when he was thinking. If he saw something that he should not see, he would probably die on the spot. Chapter 962. Scarlet was a demonic beast of the Crab clan in the Endless Sea. It was of the same clan as Blood Lady who had broken into the underwater prison. It was also the demonic beast that Lin Yuan thought looked like Boss Crab. As the demonic beast in charge of the Sea Demon Guild in the City of Trade, Scarlet had never left the Willowstone Sea. Although it did not contribute to the conflicts with the surrounding Sea Demon clans, in the internal affairs of the City of Trade, it cooperated with its subordinates to the extreme. As long as it had free time, it would help to build the city. As for how much of this was because of its conscientious and responsible nature, or because it was worried that its interests would be harmed, perhaps only Scarlet knew. Let it in. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment before he responded in a clear voice. About 3 minutes later, Scarlet pushed open the door of Lin Yuan's palace and said in a deep voice, "Greetings, Dragon King." "Greetings, Dragon King." Lin Yuan's eyes did not have the slightest ripple. He just said indifferently, "The Sea Demon Guild only has a part of the dragon bloodline demonic beasts. The rest of the members were extremely powerful clans before the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas arrived in the Endless Sea. The Whale Clan was slaughtered and expelled, but the Turtle Clan and your Crab Clan served the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas and received a lot of rewards. Unless it is a dragon bloodline demonic beast of the Four Seas at the level of the Dragon King of the Four Seas, they would have to be respectful when they see you. So, put away that hypocritical etiquette. This king is not a member of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas, and I know very well that you big clans have always looked down on the dragon bloodline demonic beasts who came later, let alone this king, a descendant of an outsider." After being torn apart by Lin Yuan, Scarlet was cold for a full 2 minutes before it came back to its senses. It said repeatedly, I don't dare, whether you dare or not, you know it in your heart. This king doesn't care about this. Lin Yuan opened his mouth and yawned. He said casually, let's lay our cards on the table. Why do you insist on seeing this king today? Scarlet was most likely representing the dragon clan of the Four Seas to have a showdown with the Sea Demon Guild. As one of the leaders of the Sea Demon Guild, although Scarlet valued its own interests, it did not have the courage to refuse an order from above. That was why it insisted on seeing Lin Yuan today, and the Sea Demon Guild. Scarlet hesitated for a moment before she lowered her head and said, the reason I'm here today is to remind the Dragon King that the sunken reefs outside did not accidentally intrude into the Willowstone waters. You should be aware of the current situation as well. The current deep-sea region can no longer withstand the torment. What's more, the sunken reefs are monsters that have been stirring up trouble in the outer seas. If it weren't for the instructions of the dragon bloodline demon beast, they wouldn't even be able to enter the deep-sea region, let alone occupy outside the city of trade and wantonly attack the nearby sea demon tribes. So? Lin Yuan was slightly startled. This opening statement was unexpected. But it seemed reasonable. Although this humble one is weak and unable to help the Dragon King expel the sunken reef pirates, this humble one can be sure that there is an extremely deep scheme behind this matter. I'm afraid that the dragon-blooded beasts are jealous of your cooperation with the Siren Guild and want to use the sunken reef pirates to pressure you. Once you can't hold on and submit to them, they will open their mouths and ask for the profits of the city of trade from you. Moreover, the more I think about it, the more frightened I am. Although Sunken Reef is famous, in reality, they are not even in the top 100 pirate groups in the Endless Sea. If the Dragon King personally takes action to expel Sunken Reef, I am afraid that things will become even more difficult to deal with. As long as the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas does not give up on their evil intentions, they will continue to act in the dark. When she said, cause trouble, Scarlet paused. She seemed to be observing Lin Yuan's expression. Seeing that Lin Yuan was panicking, she continued, so, I think you can entrust us to deal with the problem of expelling the Sea Demon Guild. First, this is what the Sea Demon Guild should do as an ally. Second, with the Sea Demon Guild's name, even the most ferocious pirate group will be restrained. It's just that you are alone and do not have the strength to help me expel the Sea Demon Guild. But you have a way to contact the Sea Demon Guild and let them send strong people to deal with this matter. But after solving this problem, I have to give a part of the benefits of the City of Trade to the Sea Demon Guild, right? The panic on Lin Yuan's face disappeared and was replaced by coldness and ridicule. He said in a deep voice, since you are alone and cannot help this king with this matter, then this matter will be much easier. In this king's view, everything has a price. Since you are not worth this price, then this king will take back the contract he signed with you and hand you over to the Sea Demon Guild to deal with this matter. This. Scarlet suddenly widened her eyes and looked at Lin Yuan in disbelief. For a moment, she did not know what to say. Because everything she wanted to say was said by Lin Yuan, and then Lin Yuan's way of dealing with it was as terrible as the last straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean by everything has a price? To put it bluntly, the Sea Demon Guild wants to use this matter to obtain the benefits of the City of Trade. Then I will simply give it to them. The part that is not given will definitely not be paid from me, but from Scarlet's benefits. Dragon King, I'm afraid this is against the rules, right? You have signed an agreement with me. If it's like this. Scarlet's eyes kept rolling, as if she was thinking of a way to break out of this situation. Lin Yuan glanced at Scarlet with a cold face and said indifferently, this king is different from ordinary cultivators or monsters. When there is no need to use force to solve problems, I prefer to look at everything with the mindset of a merchant. Perhaps you have seen some merchants who are based on integrity from human stories, but this king can only say that those are all lies. There are not many merchants in the world who are honest, because merchants are always after profits. You are only worthy to talk about the contract with me if you have value. If you have no value, Seeing Scarlet's angry eyes, Lin Yuan paused and added, however, this king is not a completely untrustworthy person. Since you have breached the contract, this king will soon have someone send the liquidated damages from the northern frontier. As his voice fell, if Scarlet's eyes could condense into something substantial, it was estimated that she would have pierced through Lin Yuan's heart by now. When she first signed the contract, although she thought of the rich benefits of the city of trade, she did not overestimate it too much, for fear of making Lin Yuan unhappy. After all, no matter how powerful a city of trade was, it could only connect more than a dozen sea areas. But when Lin Yuan began to build 2 one-way transmission formations outside the city, she realized how wrong she was. Chapter 963. Dragon King. Scarlet took a deep breath and growled, I already know what to do. Please be magnanimous, Dragon King. The liquidated damages stipulated in the contract were not exorbitant, but it was not a small amount either. However, everything depended on the comparison. Compared with the benefits that Lin Yuan had promised it, the liquidated damages were not even a drop in the bucket. Moreover, when Lin Yuan had said those words, it did not react. However, now that it thought about it, it was clear that Lin Yuan had already known about the plan of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas to join forces with the Sea Demon Guild. Didn't this mean that this Black Jiao had already found a way to solve the sunken reef problem? If it continued to do nothing, it was needless to say whether the contract would be fulfilled or not. Lin Yuan sneered, got up and swam to Scarlet and said, to be honest, the Sea Demon Guild has disappointed this king too much. In the early years, you were trampled under the feet of the Whale Clan, and you unwillingly bowed down to them. Later on, the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas came and exiled the Whale Clan. Although you took the opportunity to form the Sea Demon Guild, you were still paying tribute to them. In the entire Dragon Clan of the Four Seas, there were not many who looked up to you. And you, even if the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas slapped you in the face, you only dared to smile and think about what you did wrong. Scarlet took a deep breath again, trying to calm down. It wanted to refute Lin Yuan, but it could not organize its words, because the things that the other party said were indeed the doings of the monster clans that had lived in the endless sea since ancient times. It seems that the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas is more successful than this king thought. They easily grabbed your throats and made you obedient. Even at this juncture, knowing that the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas has suffered great losses, the Sea Demon Guild still did not change what you did. You did not dare to overthrow the rule of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas, but you also wanted to overthrow the rule of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas. So when the mutants caused the disaster, you had known about this long ago, but you pretended to be ignorant and cooperated with the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas to suppress the spread of information about the mutants. Because you wanted to use the power of the mutants to weaken the power of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas, and even secretly instigated the Sea Demon clans to disrespect the rule of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas. When I was imprisoned in the undersea prison, your blood lady of the Four Seas attacked the undersea prison. She said that she wanted to kill me, but in fact, she was trying to humiliate the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas. If you really did it, it would be a big joke. The weak nature of the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas would be exposed. The Dragon Clan of the Four Seas would be defeated, and your Sea Demon Guild would be almost unharmed. As long as you solve the problem of the mutants, you can become the new overlord of the Endless Sea. Therefore, when the Willowstone Fortress was guarded by many powerful sea demons, except for some who were infected by the aberration, the rest of the sea demons who did not reach the city in time to stop the source of the aberration were all from the Sea Demon Guild. But the problem is that things have already come to this point, and you and the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas are at odds. Both sides know what the other side is like now, but you still want to pretend to be polite. You even want to involve the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas to deal with this king. Are you afraid that the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas and this king will join hands to deal with you? Lin Yuan's eyes flickered, and he continued, it's really funny and sad. As soon as his voice fell, Scarlet wanted to say something several times, but in the end, she did not say a word. Because what Lin Yuan said was the truth that could not be refuted. Failure is not terrible. As long as you are willing to do it, it doesn't matter if you fail 100 times, because success will be achieved in the end. Lin Yuan spoke again, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. He said coldly, "The real terrible thing is stupidity, stupidity without knowing it." In Lin Yuan's eyes, the behavior of the Sea Demon clans was similar to that of Korea during the Warring States period. On the surface, they had been working for Qin for 30 years, but they had been looking for opportunities to stab Qin in the back. When Qin attacked, they begged for mercy, and when they failed to beg for mercy, they threatened. Because Korea was an important place, if Qin did not destroy Korea, it would be difficult for Qin to advance eastward. If they destroyed Korea, they would have to face the allied forces of the other 5 countries at the same time to save Korea. The Sea Demon Guild was like that in the Deep Sea region. They were all natives of the Endless Sea. In the early years, they were not as strong as the Whale clan, but later, they joined forces with the Four Seas Dragon clan and the Whale clan. When the Four Seas Dragon clan succeeded in ascending the throne, they submitted to the Four Seas Dragon clan while waiting for an opportunity to rebel. It was simply ridiculous. When Lei Qiusheng usurped the throne, only Lu Jingsheng in the entire Myriad Sword dynasty thought highly of him. That was because he did not have a high chance of winning. When the Four Seas Dragon clan defeated the Whale clan, the entire Endless Sea thought highly of the Four Seas Dragon clan, because the Four Seas Dragon clan was powerful. According to the thinking of the Sea Demon Guild's rebellion, even after 1,000,000 years, they would still submit to others. If they encountered an existence like the Great Old Ones, they would not even have the chance to submit to others. Because they had always been working together to become strong, not to help the weak. If they wholeheartedly supported the Great Old Ones, joining forces to become strong was naturally nothing. However, if they coveted the throne, joining forces to become strong would be a joke. Because the strong would become stronger with the passage of time. Although the major clans were also improving, overall, it was impossible for them to defeat the Great Old Ones who sat on the throne of the Endless Sea. Now that the Four Seas Dragon clan's vitality was greatly damaged, even if they did not have a high chance of winning and did not dare to attack directly, the Sea Demon Guild should join forces with Lin Yuan at this time and directly stab the Four Seas Dragon clan's vital points a few times. After both sides destroyed the Four Seas Dragon clan, the Sea Demon Guild would then turn around and pinch Lin Yuan to death. Wouldn't that be a higher chance of winning? But what was the Sea Demon Guild doing? They were joining forces with the Four Seas Dragon clan to scheme against Lin Yuan. Wasn't this a king joke? Once the Four Seas Dragon clan obtained the benefits of the City of Trade, they might not be able to recover quickly, but generally speaking, once they had the resources, they could buy or hire. In any case, there were plenty of ways to temporarily increase their strength. At the very least, they could stab the Sea Demon Guild in the back and let the two sides return to the same line again. In addition to the bloodline gap between the Four Seas Dragon clan and the major clans behind the Sea Demon Guild, it would not be long before the Four Seas Dragon clan overtook the Sea Demon Guild again. They had missed such a good opportunity. At this time, the Sea Demon Guild still ran to Lin Yuan to lay their cards on the table with a complacent look, as if they really thought that they had schemed against Lin Yuan and the Four Seas Dragon clan. But in reality, at this time, the army of the Four Seas Dragon clan that came to eradicate the sunken reef was probably already near the Willow Stone Sea. If the problem of the sunken reef was not dealt with as soon as possible, the Four Seas Dragon clan would definitely owe him a favor. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan's heart moved. In the perception of the eye of God, hazy white lights lit up from the teleportation circle in the city. Chapter 964. This is, although Scarlet did not have the eye of the god, it was still a demon king after all. Its perception was not weak. In addition, the demons that walked out of the teleportation formation did not suppress their auras, so it was immediately detected by Scarlet. It could not help but exclaim. Mercenaries, here to solve the problem of the sunken reef. Lin Yuan looked at Scarlet meaningfully and said, "This is not a problem that I can solve personally. Moreover, I believe that there will not be any pirates or the like coming to the city of trade. The outer sea demons had now begun a truce. Each of them was reorganizing their military, planning to have a good fight with the dragon bloodline demons. The difference in strength between the two sides naturally still existed. Therefore, in addition to their own troops, the outer sea demons would undoubtedly hire stray demons and notorious pirate gangs to help in the battle. Even if it could only increase their chances of winning by a little, they would not miss it. Even if the Dragon Clan and the Sea Demon Guild of the Four Seas still did not give up, it would be difficult for them to find suitable people to pressure the city of trade in a short period of time. Even if they wanted to come personally, they would first have to ask Lin Yuan if he was willing. Secondly, a sudden attack by the outer sea demons would not allow them to get what they wanted. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan had already swam out. Soon, thousands of outer sea demons had already lined up according to their own organization. Almost all of them were from the desolate demon realm. Only a few of them were demon kings, but this small number depended on the comparison. After all, the Sunken Reef's actual population was less than 1,000, and there were more than 20 demon kings guarding it. As the scouts of the outer sea demons, the various forces of the outer sea demons were naturally even more elite. Lin Yuan only did a rough count and felt that the number of demon kings in the team was no less than 50. "Hello, Dragon King, it is my pleasure to serve you." A demon beast that looked like a giant salamander stepped out of the crowd and spoke as it approached Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan responded softly. Then, with a wave of demonic power, a transparent bead was suspended on the salamander's body. He said indifferently, "This bead is a gadget that I made temporarily. Through it, I can keep in touch with the owner of the other big round bead at any time. I will leave it to you for safekeeping temporarily. This is what I promised before." What the hell did Lin Yuan know about refining? He had only derived some ideas from what he had seen and heard in his previous life. It sounded like it was enough to shock the refiners of this world, but if you let Lin Yuan do it himself, it would be no different from a piece of trash. It was just a porter. Spending the power of incense in a reasonable manner in order to obtain the greatest benefit with the least benefit. After all, when a precious resource was not used by others and was only accumulated, it would eventually become useless. The salamander-like demon beast grinned and stretched out its claws to take the bead. It said in a deep voice, "Dragon King, please rest assured that we will definitely guard this sea area like an iron bucket. No matter who comes, don't even think about making trouble for the Dragon King." Scarlet stared blankly at the thousands of demon beasts that appeared in the square of the City of Trade, its eyes showing a look of disbelief. There were more than 50 demon kings, and the rest of the demon beasts were all at the peak of the desolate demon realm. If these demon beasts had not faintly divided into factions, it would have thought that Lin Yuan had hired a demon beast army from somewhere. Although this level of force was not enough to threaten the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas and the Sea Demon Guild that had gathered its main force, it would be easy for them to sweep the surrounding sea area. "Dragon King, these demon beasts are..." Scarlet swallowed a mouthful of saliva, its face showing a look of horror. Lin Yuan glanced sideways at Scarlet and said coldly, "What does this have to do with you? Is this king your subordinate or the Sea Demon Guild subordinate? Do I have to report everything to you?" Scarlet shuddered, shook its head, and said, "Dragon King, you have misunderstood me. What I mean is that these thousands of demon beasts do not have the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. Once they appear in the deep sea area, it is very likely that they will be hunted down by the various sea demon clans and the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas. I need their information before I can report it to the guild headquarters. Otherwise, I have no right to give them a reasonable identity. I hope the Dragon King can understand." Ha 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 ha. Scarlet fire swoosh. As soon as Scarlet's voice fell, the surrounding demon beasts were already laughing together. When the laughter subsided a little, the baby fish demon beast walked up to Scarlet and said with a cold face, "We don't need any identity given by the Sea Demon Guild. Instead of hoping that it will be useful, it is better to hope that the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas will put aside their prejudice and accept demon beasts without the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. Even if you give them an identity, won't they still be discriminated against wherever they go? If they are not strong enough, they will be killed on the spot. From now on, any demon beasts that attack us, no matter what clan they are from, will be regarded as an act of war. At this point, it turned its head to look at the other demon beasts and said loudly, "Brothers, tell this lord of the Sea Demon Guild how we will treat our war targets. Blood for blood, until death do us part." The rest of the demon beasts stopped laughing and growled with a serious face. You, Scarlet staggered and subconsciously took 2 steps back. She looked at Lin Yuan with a gloomy face and said coldly, "Dragon King, you actually dare to lure the demon beasts from the outer sea into the deep sea area. Do you really think that we, the demon beasts of the deep sea, will not be able to defeat you? Blood for blood, until death do us part." This was the common slogan of the demon beasts of the outer sea. Because in ancient times, the demon beasts that were driven to the outer sea by the dragon clan of the 4 seas were basically existences with weak bloodlines or few in number. They had to fight each other for the sea area and food. Outside, they had to face the demon beasts of the rivers that entered the sea, the human cultivators in the coastal areas, and the increasingly greedy dragon bloodline demon beasts. Their days were getting harder and harder. In order to ensure their survival, they could only become crazy. Moreover, it was the kind of madness that would not rest until one of them died. Over time, this slogan slowly spread. Few people dared to provoke the demon beasts of the outer sea. Today, the crazy demon beasts of the outer sea gradually found peace in their hearts. They formed different alliances and gave birth to their own civilization. Now, it is war. Lin Yuan cracked the corner of his mouth, revealing a ferocious smile. He said in a deep voice, "Previously, when you guys were in the Willow Stone Fortress, you guys did not put in any effort. This is obvious to all. If I use this excuse to start a war, do you think the dragon clan of the 4 seas will be happy to see the Sea Demon Guild being weakened? Or, will they be as indecisive as you guys?" Chapter 965. Demon kings were not rare in the Endless Sea, but demon kings with titles were extremely rare. For example, among the 3 demon kings of the brave crab race, only Tai Wu had a title. For Scarlet to become a titled demon king, her talent could be seen through a narrow window. Some things, when exposed, were even more frightening than when hidden. The Endless Sea was about to welcome a new war. The Sea Demon Guild was one side, but this Black Jiao might not be the other side. To be able to say these words so casually, it was enough to prove that this Black Jiao was involved. However, it was unknown who was the other side that was fighting against the Sea Demon Guild. The dragon tribe of the 4 seas? Or, a powerful sea demon clan? Although the Sea Demon Guild was a force formed by ancient clans, it was still very loose. With the dragon tribe of the 4 seas dominating, many clans had intermarried with the dragon tribe of the 4 seas and obtained the dragon tribe's bloodline. Only a few ancient and powerful clans still maintained the purity of their bloodline. Although they had formed the Sea Demon Guild together with them, the internal relationship was not harmonious. Some demons wanted to take advantage of the situation to overthrow the dragon tribe of the 4 seas. Naturally, there were also sea demon clans that wanted to wait and see. Scarlet's thoughts were a little chaotic. However, she did not associate the demon beasts that appeared in the city of trade with the outer sea demon beasts. After all, after the dragon tribe of the 4 seas expelled the ancestors of the outer sea demon beasts, they spent countless manpower and resources to build a great willow stone wall that almost isolated the outer sea from the deep sea. Once the formation was activated, birds and fish could not cross it. Even in the sea, if they wanted to cross the great willow stone wall, they would have to first attack the city like land creatures. Thinking about the sturdiness of the willow stone wall, if not for the aberration's trap formation and the delay of the trader, even with their strength, they might not be able to attack the willow stone wall. Those outer sea demon beasts wanted to cross the great willow stone wall? Not to mention whether they had the ability to do so, even if they did, they would not have the strength to attack the deep sea demon beasts. Even if Lin Yuan used the teleportation array to send in more than 1,000 demonic beasts from the outer sea, it was impossible to bring in all the demonic beasts from the outer sea. After all, the time and materials needed to draw such a large array were a very terrifying number. It was impossible for the dragon clan of the Four Seas and the Sea Demon Guild not to notice it. By then, before Lin Yuan could complete the construction of the teleportation circle, the Four Seas dragon race and the Siren Guild would have already come knocking on his door. Therefore, Black Jiao's target this time was actually the Siren Guild, and the other party involved in the battle might be some ancient Siren clan. The lack of information and the limitations of one's vision were often the most important factors that determined the outcome of a war. As the saying goes, an arrogant army is bound to be defeated. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. This refers to the intelligence that cannot be lax in this aspect. The deep-sea demon beasts obviously made such a huge mistake. Even Crimson, who had witnessed part of the plan, had fallen into a misconception due to her doubts and common sense. She had not realized the true murder plot. Crimson was silent for a moment before she said, "Is the Dragon King hinting to me that I should go back and persuade the Siren Guild to stop working with the dragons of the Four Seas and join forces with the Dragon King to overthrow the dragons of the Four Seas?" The more she thought about Lin Yuan's words, the more fearful Crimson became. After all, the big clans behind the Siren Guild knew very well what the dragons of the Four Seas were like. As long as there was an opportunity to eliminate dissidents in front of them, even if they knew it was a trap, they would not hesitate to step into it. To put it simply, the dragons of the Four Seas had dominated the Endless Sea for so many years because of their powerful bloodline. Now, the dragons of the Four Seas had intermarried with the various demon beast clans of the Endless Sea. Although the dragon bloodline demon beasts were spread all over the Endless Sea, the bloodline of the dragons of the Four Seas was also mixed in. The gap between the bloodline of the two sides was getting smaller and smaller, and pure-blooded dragons were becoming rarer and rarer. As long as they were not attacked by the demon beasts of the Outer Sea, the overlords of the Endless Sea would still be the dragon bloodline demon beasts. It was just that the higher-ups who had the final say would no longer be those pure-blooded dragons. In addition to the strength of their bloodline, what the dragons of the Four Seas liked to do the most was to eliminate dissidents and stifle threats. They used this method to ensure their dominance over the Endless Sea. After hearing that the Black Jiao in the Hengduan Mountains had purified his own bloodline to transform from a snake into a dragon, they decisively expressed their goodwill to the Black Jiao and tricked the Black Jiao into coming to the Endless Sea in an attempt to obtain this method to purify their bloodline. However, at that time, no one thought that things would become so tense. The dragons of the Four Seas and the Siren Guild also did not think that the Black Jiao would actually want to nail a nail in the Endless Sea to obtain the authority and benefits in the Endless Sea. Nothing could be more than inviting a wolf into one's house. Therefore, if there were really other forces waging war against the Siren Guild, the dragons of the Four Seas would definitely not send troops to rescue the Siren Guild. Instead, they would be happy to see both sides suffer a great loss, just like what the Siren Guild did to the dragons of the Four Seas when the aberration appeared. They had joined forces now only because the threat of Lin Yuan was too great. It did not mean that they really wanted to cooperate with each other. Leave? Are you a member of the Peach Blossoms Network? Lin Yuan's eyes flashed, and he said in a low voice, "The war is about to begin. Didn't both of you join forces to plot against this king? This king will beat you at your own game. Let's see if you'll boil the frog in warm water and kill this king, or if this king will drive the wolf to devour the tiger and let you suffer the consequences of your own actions. This king naturally has his reasons for keeping you here. However, you don't have the right to know now." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan turned around and left. Two demon kings from the outer seas immediately came forward and threw Scarlet to the ground. After putting on the shackles that Lin Yuan had prepared long ago, they dragged Scarlet to the dungeon. After all, there were more than 50 demon kings around. Even if not all of them were titled demon kings, they were undoubtedly very terrifying existences. They were not existences that Scarlet could fight against alone. However, Scarlet had come to see Lin Yuan today because he had a card up his sleeve. He wanted to use the situation to make Lin Yuan bow his head, so he did not call for any help. Now that he was captured, unless Lin Yuan changed his mind, it would be very difficult for him to escape. Scarlet's face was ashen, but he was constantly calculating in his heart. There was still a look of doubt in his eyes. The remaining outer sea demon beasts only roughly glanced at the layout of the city of trade, and their faces lit up with joy. This was because building such a city was obviously not a small matter. Even if all the resources were plundered by the Black Jiao from the Endless Sea, it was impossible for him to set up a trap to kill them. The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce was really sincere in wanting to settle down in the Endless Sea. On the other hand, Lin Yuan strolled to the courtyard where Cyrus lived. He happened to see Cyrus curled up into a ball in the courtyard, absorbing the moonlight to cultivate. With a slight thought, he landed in the courtyard. Chapter 966. When the moonlight entered his body, it turned into pure demonic energy that flowed through his body, gradually turning into his own demonic energy and fusing into his flesh and blood. After the cultivation was complete, Cyrus slowly stood up and glanced at Lin Yuan. He asked in confusion, "The Dragon King has been staying in his room ever since he came back. He must be worried about something. Why did he come to me? Could it be that I'm the one who can solve the Dragon King's problem? I can't solve it, and there's no need to solve it for the time being. Let nature take its course." Lin Yuan swept his pitch-black dragon tail, and his demonic power surged, transforming into a huge stone platform. He said, "I came here today just to have a battle with you, and use this to confirm the conjecture in my heart." Practice a battle? Cyrus was slightly taken aback, and it looked a little surprised. Although it had learned military and political affairs, it was better at scheming and plotting behind the scenes. However, after joining the Dragon King's service, it had never done anything that it was good at. Usually, it was in charge of the construction of the city of trade and the diplomacy between the Willowstone Sea region and the surrounding sea regions. Cyrus turned its gaze to the huge stone platform, and its pupils suddenly shrank. It exclaimed, "This is..." On the stone platform was a war sand table that almost perfectly replicated the terrain of the Great Wall of Willowstone Sea region and the surrounding sea regions. It had been to some of the sea regions before, and it had never set foot on some of them when it was a stray demonic beast. However, in Lin Yuan's eyes, there seemed to be no secrets in the entire Endless Sea. With a thought, Cyrus narrowed its eyes and said, "The battle that the Dragon King mentioned, could it be that the outer sea demonic beasts are about to attack the deep sea region?" Lin Yuan nodded slightly. Cyrus's eyes widened, but it gently shook its head and sighed. The Dragon King's plan this time is amazing. If the outer sea demonic beasts attack the deep sea region, both the Four Seas Dragon Tribe and the Sea Demon Guild will be facing a great enemy. Especially now that the Four Seas Dragon Tribe has suffered great losses, they will definitely secretly plot against the Sea Demon Guild. Once the war starts, it will take at least 3 to 5 years, and at most, decades. By the time the war is over, the city of trade will have been established. Most importantly, when the war starts, all kinds of resources will be scarce, and the city of trade can take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. The speed of its formation will undoubtedly be even more terrifying. However, it paused, sighed, and said, "This plan treats the symptoms but not the root cause. Even if the city of trade is established, it will be as weak as a child compared to the two behemoths. If the war doesn't go well, they will have the guts to attack the city of trade first and obtain a large amount of resources to replenish their own consumption." Lin Yuan's lips curled up slightly. With a wave of his demonic energy, he moved a few military models with the outer sea demonic beasts to the Great Wall of Willowstone. He said, "If the outer sea demonic beasts attack the Great Wall of Willowstone, how will the deep sea demonic beasts deal with them?" Cyrus pondered for a moment and also used his demonic energy to move some military models from the sea near the Great Wall of Willowstone. He said, "The Great Wall of Willowstone was built to defend against the outer sea demonic beasts. Therefore, be it the dragon clan of the Four Seas or the other sea demonic tribes, they all have garrisons on the Great Wall of Willowstone. If the outer sea demonic beasts attack in small groups, the garrisons on the Great Wall of Willow Stone are enough to deal with them. If the outer sea demonic beasts attack in full force, the garrisons on the Great Wall of Willow Stone can temporarily mobilize demonic beasts from the nearby seas to defend the Great Wall of Willow Stone. Lin Yuan shook his head with a smile and pointed at the military models outside the Great Wall of Willow Stone with the tip of his tail. He said with a hideous smile, "The outer sea demonic beasts and the dragon bloodline demonic beasts have an indelible blood feud. I heard that the dragon bloodline demonic beasts have been severely injured, and the outer sea forces are even willing to join forces to attack the deep sea. There are countless demonic beasts and they are angry and eager to fight. On the other hand, the dragon bloodline demonic beasts have been living a luxurious life these past few years. They are brave when they fight, but they retreat when they encounter a strong enemy. If the two really start fighting, it's hard to say who will be able to fight against 10. Dragon King's words are reasonable, but Cyrus smiled and did not back down. Morale is indeed important, but the success of the battle will also affect morale. No matter how the dragon bloodline demonic beasts have fallen, the advantage brought by the Great Wall of Willow Stone is not fake. Once the battle starts, if the outer sea demonic beasts are unable to take down the Great Wall of Willow Stone, their morale will definitely drop." As soon as he finished speaking, Cyrus pointed at the Great Wall of Willow Stone with his tentacles and said again, "The Endless Sea's craftsmanship is not as good as the land's, but the dragon tribe is extremely wealthy. In the past few years, they have purchased and customized many defensive weapons that can be used underwater. Once the city is under siege, they will be able to deal great damage to the outer sea demonic beasts even before they fight." The outer sea demonic beasts are indeed not as wealthy as the dragon tribe of the Four Seas, but they are connected to the Sky Martial continent. Their accumulation over the years should not be underestimated. Lin Yuan retorted and said in a deep voice, "If the cloud-pushing towers were to attack the city, they could install a giant ship below and make it the same height as the Great Wall of Willow Stone. Archers and demonic beasts that are good at long-range spells would attack together. The height of the Great Wall of Willow Stone would be invisible. Both sides would shoot at each other and suppress each other. The demonic beasts below would push the cloud-pushing towers forward. The danger of the Great Wall of Willow Stone could be eliminated in an instant." Cyrus' 8 tentacles hugged each other as if it was thinking of a countermeasure. After a while, Cyrus said with a cold face, "Could it be that the Great Wall of Willow Stone has no catapults or ballistas, so the cloud-pushing towers are allowed to approach it? Dragon King's move can eliminate the height of the Great Wall of Willow Stone, but it can't eliminate the danger of the Great Wall of Willow Stone. With a huge target like the cloud-pushing towers, the outer sea demonic beasts attacking the city would be even more dangerous. Then let me ask you, if I were to attack with ballistas and catapults, would the Great Wall of Willow Stone have the strength to fight me?" Lin Yuan suddenly laughed and said, "The Great Wall of Willow Stone is indeed dangerous, but the outer sea demonic beasts are endless. Even if a batch of them are killed, as long as they can climb up the Great Wall of Willow Stone, without the advantage of fortifications, the so-called Great Wall of Willow Stone can be destroyed in an instant. Fight me?" "Ha!" Cyrus sneered and said in a deep voice, "The outer sea demonic beasts have come from afar. No matter how much preparation they have, they will only have 3 times the storage of the Great Wall of Willow Stone at most. If they bring too many siege weapons, the march will be slowed down. Besides, don't they need to transport food and medicine? If the Great Wall of Willow Stone runs out of supplies, they can replenish the supplies in the sea behind them. But if the outer sea demonic beasts run out of weapons, where will they replenish the supplies?" Lin Yuan was silent. He took out a few soldier models from the outer sea and placed them on the main roads connecting the Great Wall of Willow Stone to the various sea regions. If the outer sea demonic beasts sneak into the deep sea and lie in ambush on these main roads, they will intercept and kill any small group of demonic beasts they come across, and they will harass and tire out any large group of demonic beasts they come across. On top of that, they will slaughter and destroy the supplies sent to the Great Wall of Willow Stone from the sea behind them. How are we going to deal with that?" After placing the pieces, Lin Yuan looked at Cyrus with a smile. Chapter 967. That's impossible. Cyrus pondered for a moment and said with uncertainty, the Great Wall of Willowstone almost separates the inner sea from the outer sea. Unless one dives below the surface, it's impossible to enter the deep sea from the outer sea. However, the outer sea monsters don't have the dragon bloodline in them. Once they cross the Great Wall of Willowstone, they will be detected. It might be possible for some spies to sneak in, but if they sneak in an army, Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed, and the sea map on the stone platform in front of him changed again. A dark stone city slowly took shape in the Willowstone Sea area. One by one, military models engraved with the demonic beasts of the outer sea were placed around the city of commerce. Seeing this, Cyrus's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Using a one-way teleportation formation to bring the outer sea monsters to the Willowstone region, then setting off from there to attack the rear of the Great Wall of Willowstone region? Would this work? Of course it would. Outsiders might not know how powerful Lin Yuan's teleportation formation technology was, but Cyrus, who had been following Lin Yuan, knew. It was a supreme power that could bring the cultivators of the Tianwu continent to the deep sea. If Lin Yuan intervenes, then this strategy is indeed feasible. Moreover, the trouble of the sunken reef, and even the surrounding sea demon groups coveting the Lushur Sea area, will also be dealt with by the outer sea demon beasts. The so-called art of war is to use the right strategy to win with the wrong strategy. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and said indifferently, this is what a military sage said. It means that a war is based on joint warfare, and the general is good at using strategy and art of war to deal with the direction of the war with infinite changes to win. Most of the militarists that this king knows believe in this, but this king's art of war is not like this. The so-called art of war since ancient times is to use the strong to defeat the weak. If you are weak, make yourself strong. If you can't do it, make the enemy weak. It is the right way to plan and arrange to win, but this king does not have so much time and resources to arrange, so I can only take risks. Cyrus looked at Lin Yuan, dumbfounded. This phrase came from Sun Tzu's Art of War. It was something that the natives of the martial heaven world couldn't even imagine. Although Cyrus hadn't learned much about the art of war, he had extraordinary experience. Just this phrase alone was enough for him to look down on any disciple of the art of war. After all, this was a world where cultivators and demonic beasts existed. The art of war was not used much. The outcome of a war still depended on the outcome of the experts on both sides. For example, the most popular battle of generals in history, which was also praised by later generations, was essentially a method of military strategy. It was used to prove that one side's general was stronger than the other side's general in front of two armies, thus achieving the effect of lowering the enemy's morale. In reality, the battle of generals didn't have much meaning. It was only exaggerated by novels, movies, and even ancient storytellers that made it fascinating. In fact, no matter how brave and ferocious a general was, he couldn't decide the outcome of a war in a low-level martial arts world. The saying that one man could defeat 10,000 people was just an exaggeration. Even if one was as ferocious as Xiang Yu, wouldn't he have no choice but to cut his own throat when surrounded by an army? Lu Bu, who was also good at using halberds and was known as the top general of the Three Kingdoms, had a full set of godly equipment. The Fangtian halberd was used as a ceremonial weapon. Ordinary people couldn't wield it easily, but he used it as a weapon. In addition, he had the world's fastest horse, Red Hare. However, there were cultivators in the martial heaven world. For example, if Xiang Yu had been born in a place similar to the martial heaven world, where he was surrounded by enemies and had to fight with his back against the wall, he would have been able to kill his way through. He could even do what Zhao Yun had done after being exaggerated by countless people. A Kongming realm cultivator, even if he was alone, had the power to destroy a city and a country. Unless there was a cultivator of the same level who could stop him, no matter how many soldiers there were, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Therefore, although there were military experts in this world, just like how the Northern Frontier Academy had recruited many military experts, there weren't any great talents. Even if they were to face Lin Yuan, who only knew a few ancient war stories, they would still be defeated. However, Lin Yuan's art of war was not like Sun Bin's. If an example had to be given, Lin Yuan's art of war was more like Qin Xingji's. A great general should not be restrained by himself, and thousands of soldiers and horses should avoid the white robe. In the eyes of the later generations, every famous general had his or her own way of leading an army. Just like the 5 elements, those who were good at fast attacks would lose against those who were good at defense. Those who liked to take risks would also lose against those who were good at marching steadily. Qin Xingji was a classic example of someone who was good at winning with fewer troops. After all, he had fought 47 battles from Hua County to Luoyang with 7,000 troops. He had attacked 32 cities and defeated more than 300,000 enemies. He was invincible. Of course, these 7,000 soldiers were not special forces or cultivators. However, Qin Xingji's military philosophy was to use the weak to defeat the strong. For example, if you have 10 black chess pieces and I have 5 white chess pieces, I can use a strategy to lure away 6 white chess pieces and win with 4 white chess pieces. You will lose 4 chess pieces and I will only lose 1 or 2 chess pieces. In the same way, constantly using one's strong points to attack the enemy's weak points can turn a weakness into an advantage. Therefore, in the eyes of people like Qin Xingji and Lin Yuan, the art of war has never been about using the weak to defeat the strong, only using the strong to defeat the weak. The so-called art of war is just turning my weakness into a strength, or dividing your strength into the same weakness as mine, so that the strength between the two sides can be reversed. Turn a strength into a weakness? Cyrus looked at the stone platform in front of him with a thoughtful expression. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. Sending troops to attack the rear of the Great Wall of Willow Stone to cut off their supply. If they encountered an army that they could not defeat, they would directly let them go to the Great Wall of Willow Stone. This go-piece was too vicious. After all, the Great Wall of Willow Stone was a strategic location. Only a large number of sea monsters were stationed there. It was not a place for production at all. It was completely dependent on the rear of the sea and the stores in the Great Wall of Willow Stone. However, no matter how much stock there was, it could only last for about 3 months. If they really cut off the supply of the Great Wall of Willow Stone, it would be equivalent to starving the defenders of the Great Wall of Willow Stone to death. Moreover, the more sea monsters from the rear of the Great Wall of Willow Stone, the more food the Great Wall of Willow Stone would consume. Therefore, if they encountered a difficult enemy, they would directly let them go. This move would kill countless enemies without shedding any blood. Vicious. But the problem is, Cyrus narrowed his eyes. He took out some of the soldier models from the Great Wall of Willow Stone and placed them on the transportation routes between the Great Wall of Willow Stone and the various sea regions. He said in a deep voice, "If I deploy troops and set up military stations on these transportation routes, I can ensure the supply of supplies and deter the sea monsters from the rear of the Great Wall of Willow Stone. What if I don't put the Great Wall of Willow Stone into a predicament?" Chapter 968. Ha! Lin Yuan sneered. Since ancient times, when most generals were harassed by the enemy's attack on their rear supply line, they would send out troops to set up military depots, which could indeed play a role in protecting the traffic and the safety of the rear of the army. However, everyone knows that the outer sea demon beasts have been very powerful in recent years, and the blood feud between them and the dragon bloodline demon beasts is indescribable. Now that they have a chance, they can even put aside their prejudices and join hands to attack the deep sea area. Therefore, the dragon bloodline demon beasts must have realized this no matter how fierce their infighting is. Otherwise, do you think the dragons of the 4 seas built the Great Wall of Willow Stone because they have too much money? Before the aberrations wreaked havoc in the deep sea area, the Great Wall of Willow Stone had the troops of the dragons of the 4 seas, as well as the troops of other powerful clans. Have you seen any of them being mobilized? Lin Yuan shook his head and said coldly, "The Great Wall of Willow Stone is the dragon bloodline demon beast's most important line of defense against the outer sea demon beasts. Therefore, it cannot be lost. Then, the deep-sea demon beasts will definitely recommend a steady general to guard the Great Wall of Willow Stone. Such an existence will definitely be as steady as the Hengduan Mountains when it is guarding the city. No matter how many tricks you use, you won't be able to get out of the city easily. However, if such steadiness can resist the enemy, it can also be used by the enemy. Does it have the courage to set up military depots? Cyrus was silent for a moment. Then it shook its head and said, "Be that as it may, its survival does not allow it to worry too much. Even if it is unwilling to set up military depots, the generals of the other sea demon clans will suggest it. When the resources are running out, they will have to do it. Yes, they have to do it. It is exactly because they have to do it that they are playing right into this king's hands." A ferocious smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. His demonic power surged, and he pushed out the military models around the city of trade one by one. Every time he placed a piece, Cyrus's eyes flashed with surprise. When Lin Yuan finished placing his piece, Cyrus was shocked to find that the sea area behind the Great Wall of Willow City had been almost completely slaughtered by the demonic beasts from the outer sea. This wasn't difficult at all. This was because the outer sea demon beasts' attack was of utmost importance. Aside from the troops stationed at the Great Wall of Willow Stone, the outer sea demon beasts in the nearby sea regions also had to hurry to the Willow Stone region to participate in the battle. The outer sea demon beasts' army would not encounter the outer sea demon beasts' army because it would take time to travel from the Willow Stone region. Unless Lin Yuan directly activated the teleportation array, the outer sea demon beasts' army would not be able to stop the outer sea demon beasts no matter how fast they traveled. As a result, the sea areas near the Great Wall of Willow Shore were like empty cities. When encountering the hateful foreign sea monsters, other than being directly slaughtered, there seemed to be no other outcome. A huge net had been spread out. Because the outer sea demon beasts' army had been wiped out, the various resources stored there were either taken away as supplies or destroyed on the spot. When the outer sea demon beasts came out of the Great Wall of Willow Shore, they would only see empty wastelands. If they wanted to get resources, they would have to continue to spread out. The battle line was stretched longer and longer, and the originally superior military force was constantly being scattered. At this moment, if there was someone overlooking the entire situation and pulling in the net, the outer sea demon beasts' army that had been separated from the Great Wall of Willow Shore would immediately be wrapped up by the net outside. Then, the net would be constantly pulled in and the trapped outer sea demon beasts would be strangled to death. After losing a large number of troops and not having many resources and supplies, how could the Great Wall of Willow Shore possibly defend itself at this moment? Looking at it this way, the Great Wall of Willow Shore, which had once made countless foreign sea monsters sigh in despair, had changed from the advantage of the dragon bloodline demon beasts to their greatest disadvantage. It was even possible that because of Lin Yuan's plan, the army that could fight against the foreign sea monsters would all be buried here. The defending general of the Great Wall of Willow Shore must be a steady person. Therefore, when the rear is attacked, he will not easily divide his troops. This also gives us a time gap. When he can no longer hold on and divides his troops, the battle line will have been stretched out by us. Moreover, the number of troops that have been divided will definitely not be small. Because he doesn't know how many foreign sea monsters there are behind him, he can only make deductions based on the scale of previous attacks and maximize the number of troops that will not affect the defense of the city to wipe out the enemy. However, at a time like this, the general leading the troops will definitely not return to the Great Wall of Willow Shore casually, because only death awaits him if he returns. Also, when the defending general is forced to send out troops, the general who comes out to search for supplies will definitely be a rash and hot-tempered person. However, his position will definitely be very high. Only an existence like that can render the steady defending general helpless. Furthermore, the general will have no choice but to agree to the request. At the very beginning, they won't find anything, but they won't give up easily unless they encounter a head-on attack. I'll ask the foreign sea monsters to leave some supplies in the waters further away so that they won't despair when they can't find the supplies. At the same time, I'll create the illusion that the foreign sea monsters have suffered too many casualties and are unable to wipe out the entire region before their main army arrives. At this time, if they encounter a hot-tempered general, do you think they will choose to give up or continue to divide their troops recklessly to search for more supplies? Lin Yuan's different-colored eyes were filled with a faint smile. He asked in a deep voice, "Take a look again. What's the solution to this situation?" Cyrus stared at the giant net on the stone platform in a daze, racking its brains to think. After a long time, it lowered its head helplessly and said, "I'm too inexperienced. If I were to defend the Great Wall of Willow, sure, there would be no solution to this situation." Faced with the attack of the foreign sea monsters, the dragon blood demon beast had relied on the Great Wall of Willow sure because of its habitual thinking. Although it had been stabbed in the back, it did not lose its composure immediately. Based on Lin Yuan's analysis of the personalities of intelligent creatures, Cyrus, who was adept at scheming, soon realized that it was the so-called scorched earth strategy. However, the strategy was carried out by the attackers, who would cut off the supplies of the defenders and turn the Great Wall of Willow sure that they had been relying on into a graveyard. From the perspective of military strategy, it was a strategy of defeating the strong with the weak. From the perspective of scheming, it was a strategy of exterminating the enemy. Cyrus's surrender was not a compliment to Lin Yuan. Although it was playing a battle with Lin Yuan, it was as if it were really fighting an offensive and defensive battle with Lin Yuan. The situation was not completely unsolvable, but when dealing with the foreign sea monsters in the early stages, the reaction must be fast. However, if one were to assume that the enemy was a prudent person, it would be impossible to be fast no matter what. As it happened, the general of the Great Wall of Willow sure was most likely a prudent person. Therefore, the situation was truly unsolvable. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.